Chapter 33-42. Although the Fate Ancestor and the others were extremely unwilling, they ultimately chose to submit in the face of the threat of death. They handed over their origin spirit brands and swore a great Tao oath. From now on, their lives were in Ling Xiao's hands. Seeing that the Fate Ancestor and the others had surrendered, the people of the Chaos Shrine and Destiny Shrine naturally did not dare to resist. They all chose to submit one after another. The Destiny Shrine has also accumulated a vast amount of life origin. And the person chosen by the Fate Master is actually the Moon Goddess? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply as he received an unexpected piece of news from the Fate Ancestor. It seemed that the four sovereigns all had their own agendas. However, unlike the Chaos Master, the Fate Master did not leave behind so many backups in the human race. It seemed that his main focus was elsewhere. The life origin in the Destiny Shrine was currently being absorbed by the Moon Goddess to increase her cultivation. I'd like to see what the four sovereigns are planning. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a cold light as he thought to himself. Under the protection of the old goat and Taoist Wuliang, Ling Xiao entered the Chaos Shrine and began to cultivate in seclusion. Such a vast amount of life origin could allow his great Tao fusion to reach a higher level. Not to mention, the Destiny Shrine also had a vast amount of life origin. Ling Xiao estimated that the life origin in the two shrines should be enough to complete the final fusion of the great Tao origins in his body. As for Ling Xiao, after receiving news of Ling Xiao, he immediately sent out the Heavenly Court's army to take over the territories of the Chaos Shrine and Destiny Shrine. Since then, apart from a few people hiding in the dark, the human race had been unified in name and Ling Xiao had become the true ruler of the human race. Demon Territory. Demon Ancestors' Sacred Mountain. The Demon Ancestors' Sacred Mountain was the center of the demon territory and was the holy land in the hearts of all demons. According to legend, it was the birthplace of the Demon Ancestor. The Demon Ancestor was the ancestor of the demon race. The Demon Ancestors' Sacred Mountain was a totem-like existence among the demon race and no one dared to blaspheme it. The Demon Ancestors' Sacred Mountain was also the seat of the Patriarch Assembly. The Patriarch Assembly was made up of the 10 sects of the demon world and the various powerhouses of the demon race. They held the supreme authority of the demon race and could be considered the representatives of the demon race. The demon emperors who had proven their Tao and become great emperors were the grand elders of the Patriarch Assembly. Dark Ling Xiao was the demon lord, the leader of the Patriarch Assembly, demon ancestors patriarch of the Patriarch Assembly. The million-meter-tall holy mountain connected heaven and earth. Its aura was majestic, and it exuded an eternal demonic aura. Above the mountain peak, a sea of black clouds surged and transformed into all sorts of mysterious scenes. It was as if the world had been created. Countless chaotic fiend gods roared, indicating the traces left behind in the past. At this moment, on the peak of the demonic ancestor sacred mountain, there was a handsome young man in blood-red armor sitting cross-legged. It was Darkness Ling Xiao. He had been sitting here for more than a month. Emperor. Was to be of his domain, of the light. Although he had become a chaos demon and cultivated the chaos great Tao, he knew better than anyone that his foundation was the light and darkness great Tao. He would never be able to prove his Tao and become an emperor. That was because the chaos emperor was still alive. My main body killed one of the chaos emperor's clones. If I'm not wrong, the chaos demon race is also the work of the chaos emperor. Dark Ling Heaven thought to himself. Although I'm a chaos demon, proving my Tao and becoming an emperor using the light and darkness great Tao won't attract the attention of the chaos emperor. But the same can't be said for the others. Dark Ling Heaven's eyes flashed with a strange light. His essence, energy, and spirit had reached the peak. He was planning to break through and become an emperor on the demon ancestors' sacred mountain. As a demon lord, he had the demon race's great fortune. If he could prove his Tao on the demon ancestors' sacred mountain, he would be able to obtain the fortune of the entire demon race. Then, he would become the true demon lord. Unlike now, Although many Grand Elders obeyed his orders, the Supreme Grand Elders were all great emperors. They were still in hibernation and naturally wouldn't listen to his orders. Just like the ancient Demon Emperor and the undying Demon Emperor, they even coveted his infinite demon armor. Whoosh! At this moment, an old man in a black robe with a ruddy complexion and white hair flew across the sky and appeared in front of Dark Ling Heaven. He then bowed deeply to Dark Ling Heaven. Reporting to Lord Demon Lord, the great array is ready. The black-robed old man said slowly. His name was Rama and he was the Grand Elder of the Grand Elder Society. When the great emperors were in hibernation and the Demon Lord hadn't been confirmed, he was the leader of the Grand Elder Society. His cultivation was also unfathomable and he had reached the peerless Imperial Emperor realm. However, he was loyal to the demon race and the Demon Lord. Therefore, when Dark Ling Heaven returned to the demon ancestors' sacred mountain, he didn't hesitate to serve Dark Ling Heaven as his master. Very well. Then let's open it. Dark Ling Heaven said calmly. Demon Lord, the Thousand Demons Tao Unification Array was left behind by the demon ancestor and it hasn't been opened for countless years. If we open it rashly, I'm afraid it will trigger the origin energy of the demon ancestors' sacred mountain. When that time comes, it's hard to say if it can really help you to become an emperor. Rama pondered for a moment and said seriously to Dark Ling Heaven. It's fine. I've made up my mind. Dark Ling Heaven said indifferently. Yes. Seeing that Dark Ling Heaven had made up his mind and there was no room for discussion, Rama smiled bitterly and nodded in agreement. Whoosh! He leaped forward and a black radiance bloomed in his palm. In the demon ancestors' sacred mountain, the Grand Elders with powerful auras seemed to have sensed Rama's call. Each of them exuded a powerful aura and a black formation flag appeared in their palms. There were a total of 360 black formation flags. They looked mysterious and unfathomable. In an instant, they bloomed with dazzling radiance. Rumble. The surrounding area shook violently as the 360 Grand Elders activated the formation flags at the same time. Instantly, the entire demon ancestors' sacred mountain began to shake violently. It was like a chaotic divine demon that had awakened in the ancient times. The monstrous ominous aura made everyone tremble and their primordial spirits tremble. Pure and vast origin energy demonic light gushed out from the demon ancestors' sacred mountain like a vast and majestic ocean. It surged violently and covered the surrounding void. Dark Ling Xiao, who was sitting on the peak of the demon ancestors' sacred mountain, bore the brunt of the impact. The vast origin energy demonic light surged wildly into his body. Is this the origin energy left behind by the demon ancestor? Great! Dark Ling Xiao's eyes bloomed with dazzling radiance. Boom! Without the slightest hesitation, he instantly pushed his cultivation to its limits. Moreover, the source demon bone within his body began to emit a mysterious light. Around the dark clouds, a vast and incomparably vast swallowing vortex appeared. The origin energy that surged from all around was devoured by the origin energy demonic bone in Dark Ling Xiao's body. Dark Ling Xiao's aura began to soar. Behind him, 4 Tao spirits emerged. His physical body and Tao spirit were filled with chaotic luster. They were immortal and mysterious. The majestic and vast qi and blood contained a vast amount of life origin energy. The origin energy Tao spirit was intertwined with the power of light and darkness. Boundless light and darkness had reached a perfect unity above the origin energy Tao spirit. The primordial spirit Tao spirit was filled with the origin energy of the demon realm. At the same time, it contained the great fortune of the demon race. Dark Ling Xiao's primordial spirit seemed to be connected with the fortune of the demon race. The Tao spirit of the heart contained tyranny, killing, coldness, death, fearlessness, and other emotions. However, Dark Ling Xiao's heart was as hard as iron. The 4 Tao spirits floated behind him, exuding a vast and unparalleled radiance. As Dark Ling Xiao continued to devour the origin energy, the 4 Tao spirits showed signs of gradually merging. Kacha! Above the 9 heavens, there seemed to be lightning blooming. Vast flames surged like a sea of fire. Lightning bloomed and the light of heavenly punishment intertwined. The lightning and flames above the 9 heavens turned into a terrifying scene of destruction. Dark Ling Zhao's emperor tribulation had descended. Today, as the demon lord, I shall become an emperor. Dark Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with crazy and cold-killing intent. A vast and unparalleled aura erupted from his body and he instantly soared into the sky. The infinite demonic armor on his body became as red as blood, like some kind of living being. It trembled slightly and exuded an incomparably excited fluctuation. Rumble. The power of heavenly punishment above the 9 heavens locked onto Dark Ling Zhao. Suddenly, a huge lightning bolt as thick as a mountain descended from the sky, as if it had pierced through the world and shrouded Dark Ling Zhao. The lightning bolt was formed by the pure heavenly energy. It was terrifying and seemed to be able to destroy all life. Dark Ling Zhao looked at the sky with a trace of crazy killing intent in his eyes. Blazing radiance bloomed around his body and he threw out a punch. Kacha! The huge lightning bolt was blasted apart by Dark Ling Zhao's punch. His fist print seemed to contain peerless killing intent. It was ferocious and overbearing. It was terrifying to the extreme. Fist prints continuously soared into the sky and blasted towards the lightning bolt above the 9 heavens. With the support of the infinite demonic armor, Dark Ling Zhao's power seemed to have reached the extreme. He sprang into the sky like a black lightning bolt and entered the sea of lightning of the heavenly punishment. He unleashed his strongest strength to resist the monarch tribulation of the Tao-confirming realm. The emperor tribulation was something that everyone would turn pale at the mention of. Even great emperors were not willing to provoke it. However, Dark Ling Zhao was fearless now. Bolts of lightning fell and the void fire burned, enveloping Dark Ling Zhao as if it wanted to annihilate him completely. Within the demon ancestors' sacred mountain, the vast origin energy continuously surged into Dark Ling Zhao's body and turned into his own power. This scene made many founding elders' scalps tingle. Grand Founding Elder Rama, the origin energy of the demon ancestors' sacred mountain has been accumulating for an era. It's so violent that even imperial emperors can't refine it. Even great emperors can explode from it. How can the demon lord refine it directly? A founding elder said in shock. That's right. The demon lord is like a bottomless pit. Although the origin energy of the demon ancestors' sacred mountain can help imperial emperors, no one dares to use it. It's too violent. Who asked him to be the demon lord? Even the blood prison demon emperor died in his hands and the blood prison demon sect was annihilated by the demon lord. The demon lord is destined to be the true master of the demon race. He's the supreme genius who will lead the demon race to the top. If the demon lord is to prove his Tao, I'm afraid even those demon emperors will have to submit to the demon lord, right? The many grand elders were both shocked and excited. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fanaticism and worship. The demon race worshipped the strong the most. Dark Ling Zhao had proven his Tao and even triggered the vast origin energy of the demon ancestors' sacred mountain. Moreover, the emperor tribulation was unable to do anything to Dark Ling Zhao. It wouldn't be long before Dark Ling Zhao could pass the emperor tribulation and become a true great emperor. The demon lord killed the blood prison demon emperor. It's said that he has a grudge with the primitive demon emperor and the undying demon emperor. If he were to prove his Tao and become an emperor, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for the demon race. Rama sighed softly in his heart. Looking at Dark Ling Zhao, who was going through the tribulation in the 9 heavens, his eyes were filled with deep worry. Although Darkness Ling Zhao was indeed sufficiently stunning, his actions made Rama feel as if he was weakening the strength of the devil race. If the 3 demon emperors fell in the hands of Dark Ling Zhao, the demon race's strength would be greatly reduced. At that time, it would be difficult for them to even face the attacks of other strong races, let alone dominate the Eldritch continent. Primitive, no wonder the Dark Holy Sun could kill the blood prison demon emperor. He's really strong. At this rate, I'm afraid it won't be long before he can prove his Tao and become an emperor, right? In the chaotic void, several divine consciousnesses intertwined as if they were paying attention to the scene on the demon ancestor's sacred mountain. Prove his Tao and become an emperor. How can it be so easy? Although he wants to prove his Tao with the Tao of light and darkness, he's still from the Chaos Demon race. Behind the Chaos Demon race is the Chaos Master. How can he allow the Dark Holy Sun to prove his Tao? Just wait and see. I'm sure that the Chaos Master will take action. The Dark Holy Sun is not a pushover either. When both of them are injured, we'll take action. It'll be a piece of cake. Primitive, if it's really as you said, it won't be difficult for the three of us to kill him. However, are you really willing to give the origin source demon bone to the two of us? What's there to be reluctant about? I only want the infinite demonic armor. Although the origin source demon bone is a treasure that contains the demon realm's origin source energy and is even related to the demon ancestor, it's useless to me. Alright. We'll believe you this time. After we kill the Dark Holy Sun, you can take the infinite demonic armor and the origin source demon bone will belong to us. Deal. The few divine consciousnesses were extremely cold as they conversed with each other. After confirming the deal, they gradually calmed down. The Apex. Chapter 33-43. Rumble. Above the 9 heavens, the sea of lightning was boiling, and flames were blazing across the sky. The mysterious light contained endless destructive power, and a destructive aura spread out, enveloping the entire demon race territory. The power of darkness Ling Xiao's Emperor Tribulation was incomparably terrifying, and all the demons in the demon race territory could not help but raise their heads, their eyes filled with shock and uncertainty. Such terrifying heavenly power, could it be that someone is undergoing the Emperor Tribulation? Someone said in a trembling voice. Heavenly punishment across the sky, the origin energy is dissipating, this must be the Emperor Tribulation. In the entire demon race, who else can undergo the Emperor Tribulation at this time? I'm afraid it's only him. Someone sighed softly, his eyes filled with reverence. You mean? Demon Lord. Hiss. Demon Lord is going to undergo the Emperor Tribulation? How terrifying! Lord Demon Master, you were only an Imperial Emperor, but you managed to kill the Blood Prison Demon Emperor. If such a talented genius can become an emperor, it will be our demon clan's fortune. That's right. The heaven-defying genius of the human race, Ling Xiao, is said to have killed 4 great emperors as soon as he came out of seclusion, including the original Demon Emperor and the Undying Demon Emperor. I wonder who is stronger between Demon Lord and Ling Xiao. What right does Ling Xiao have to be compared to Demon Lord? I've already heard that the original Demon Emperor and the Undying Demon Emperor are not dead, and the Savage Beast Emperor and the Dead Spirit Emperor that were killed by him have just attained their Tao in this era, and their strength is not even comparable to the Blood Prison Demon Emperor. I see, it seems that if Ling Xiao meets our Demon Lord, he will definitely die. After the initial panic and bewilderment, many of the demon race experts' eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. The Demon Lord's heaven-defying rise gave them hope for the demon race. Even some people who had offended Dark High Firmament in the past couldn't help but worship him fervently. Among the demon race, there were even some experts who spontaneously formed a demon bishop, worshipping the Demon Lord as their leader. They were all loyal followers of the Demon Lord, and there were even saints and saintesses of various demon sects among them. Many demon experts gathered around the demon ancestors' sacred mountain to watch their Demon Lord's ascension to the heavenly monarch realm. This was one of the greatest moments in the history of the demon race. It was worthy of them personally witnessing it. Boom! Above the 9 heavens, dark soaring cloud punched out like a dragon. Every punch contained a ferocious and domineering power that could destroy everything, shattering the lightning that filled the sky. His infinity devil armor was as red as blood, and was still absorbing the power of heavenly tribulation in the area. It was as if it were radiating with boundless life force, causing the power of darkness to grow stronger and stronger. The origin demon bone within his body also began to emit a strange light. Ancient runes spread out and fell from the highest heavens, fusing together with the demon ancestors' sacred mountain. The demonic ancestor's sacred mountain seemed to have completely awakened. In an instant, it blossomed with a dazzling light. Boundless demonic origin source power gushed out of the demonic ancestor's sacred mountain and poured into dark soaring sky's body. Rumble. The demonic ancestor's sacred mountain shook violently. Mysterious Taoist rhymes spread out. Demonic light gathered in the sky and turned into a mysterious figure. The figure had his back facing the common people. He stood with his hands behind his back, and demonic light surged around him. It was as if there were billions of gods and demons crying out in grief. It was a mysterious scene of bloodshed. Is that the demonic ancestor? Rama's body trembled. His eyes were filled with disbelief, and he could not help but exclaim. The demonic ancestor was an extremely ancient existence. However, the portraits and statues of the demonic ancestor could be seen everywhere in the deity world. Although he only saw the back of the figure, the aura immediately made Rama think that it was the legendary demonic ancestor. Could it be? Could it be? Demon Master is the reincarnation of the demonic ancestor. At the thought of this, Rama's heart was in turmoil. He was extremely shocked. The mysterious figure appeared on the demonic ancestor's sacred mountain. Immediately, the heavenly tribulation in the 9 heavens surged violently. It was extremely violent, as if the heavens were angry. Rumble. Lightning and flames intertwined, and the heavenly tribulation light surged. It was vast and mighty, and it shrouded Dark Ling Xiao and the figure. However, at this moment, the figure took a step forward and integrated into Dark Ling Xiao's body. At this moment, Dark Ling Xiao felt as if some kind of power had been awakened in his body. Especially the infinite demonic armor. It was as if it had a life of its own, and it exploded with terrifying energy fluctuations. Dark Ling Xiao felt that he was about to explode. He could not help but throw out a punch. Kacha! The unparalleled fist print seemed to have destroyed the heavens. The terrifying power of tribulation lightning was destroyed by Dark Ling Xiao's punch. However, at this moment, the mist of chaos rose. Chaotic light seemed to be blooming in Dark Ling Xiao's body, and a mysterious chaotic shadow appeared. He is the chaotic emperor. Darkness Ling Xiao's heart was greatly shaken, and an incomparably sharp light instantly appeared in his eyes. He and Dark Ling Xiao were of the same origin. Naturally, he knew that Dark Ling Xiao had fought with the incarnation of the chaotic emperor. Hence, he recognized it almost instantly. The aura that the chaotic shadow gave out was exactly the same as the chaotic emperor. Get lost. There seemed to be a cold and angry roar from the infinite demonic armor, stirring up the wind and clouds. However, Dark Ling Xiao was able to sense that the shout had resounded in his mind. He was the only one who could hear it. No one else could hear it. Demon Ancestor, is he the one you have chosen? Unfortunately, he is also my target. You have been dead for countless years. How dare you show off in front of me? The chaotic shadow said coldly. His voice rang in Dark Ling Xiao's mind. If you don't get lost, then die. Monstrous killing intent gushed out from the infinite demonic armor. Rumble. That mysterious figure, surrounded by boundless chaotic demonic light, pounced on the chaotic void shadow. You are just a remnant consciousness. Do you think I am afraid of you? The chaotic shadow said coldly. Similarly, he threw out a palm print. The unparalleled palm print enveloped the figure and Dark Ling Xiao. Endless demonic light shot up into the sky like a mountain. When it collided with the palm print, it erupted with a power that was as strong as a tsunami. The two figures with the same terrifying aura instantly engaged in an intense battle of life and death above the 9 heavens. The demon ancestor and the chaotic emperor. Dark Ling Xiao sneered in his heart. There was a hint of violence in his eyes. He was now certain that the origin demonic bone and infinite demonic armor were closely related to the demon ancestor. His Chaos Demon tribe bloodline was related to the primal Chaos Emperor. These two ancient existences had left a backup plan in his body. No matter what their purpose was, it had completely ignited the killing intent and violence in Dark Lingxiao's heart. Kill! Dark Lingxiao roared. Monstrous killing intent filled the air. He was bathed in lightning and flames. It was as if he did not know that he was undergoing the Emperor's tribulation. He directly joined the battle between the two figures. Moreover, Dark Lingxiao's attack was overbearing and fierce. There was no sign of him joining forces with anyone. He attacked the two figures indiscriminately. To think that the three utmost powerful beings would erupt into an incomparably intense battle in an instant. The chaotic emperor has appeared. Could that figure be the demon ancestor? The demon ancestor also left a backup plan in his body. Looks like he's definitely going to die this time. In the void, primitive demon emperor said in surprise and joy. He had not expected the demon ancestor to appear. That's the demon ancestor. Legend has it that the demon ancestor had fallen in the first era. How could he still be alive? Beside primitive demon emperor, there were two other great emperors with powerful auras. Their eyes were also filled with disbelief. The demon ancestor is dead, but the infinite demonic armor is still here. Primitive demon emperor said with deep meaning. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. This time, he had to kill Dark Lingxiao and take the infinite demonic armor. Fight, fight with all your might. When the time comes, the infinite demonic armor and the demon ancestor's inheritance will be mine. As for the origin demonic bone, it will naturally be mine too. Primitive demon emperor glanced at the two figures beside him. There was a flash of light in his eyes. Dark Lingxiao was undergoing the emperor's tribulation. At this moment, he was fighting with the two mysterious and powerful figures. The intense battle between the three above the 9 heavens shocked everyone. Chaotic Emperor, you're just a clone. How dare you plot against me? You must be tired of living. Dark Lingxiao stared at Chaotic Emperor's figure and said with murderous intent. You're just an ant. Chaotic Emperor said coldly. Then, he slammed his palm down. The chaotic light tore through everything, trying to kill Dark Lingxiao. He had plotted against Dark Lingxiao because he had sensed the demon ancestor's aura. He just wanted to lure the demon ancestor out. He did not care about Dark Lingxiao. Now that the demon ancestor's last remnant consciousness had appeared, Dark Lingxiao's life was meaningless to him. Ha ha ha. You're indeed the chosen one of the demon race. Well done. Fight well. It's best if you can kill me as well as the chaotic emperor's clone. The demon ancestor laughed out loud. His voice was filled with endless joy. He was merciless in his attacks. When Dark Soaring Cloud attacked him, he would also counterattack. However, when he looked at Dark Soaring Cloud, his eyes were filled with admiration. This was a true demon. Only such a junior disciple of the demon race could bear the fate of the demon race and lead the demon race to the next glory. However, he would not show mercy. If Dark Lingxiao died in his hands, it would mean that Dark Lingxiao was not the chosen one. He would not hesitate to kill Dark Lingxiao. Shut up, old man. Dark Lingxiao said coldly and threw a punch at the demon ancestor's head. His fist was intertwined with extreme darkness and extreme light. It contained the power of great destruction. It was as if he wanted to destroy the demon ancestor's remnant consciousness. However, neither the chaotic emperor nor the demon ancestor were easy to deal with. Although they were not there with their real bodies, they still had the upper hand. Dark Lingxiao's body shook violently and he spat out blood. However, his eyes were still cold and unmoved. Murderous intent intertwined around him as he continued to counterattack. Because of the battle between the three of them, the Tao-proving Emperor tribulation became more and more terrifying. The heavenly might was vast and surging. In the end, 3,000 strange rays of light appeared in the 9 heavens. Each ray of light shot down a beam of light that could destroy everything, piercing towards the three of them. Boom! 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 The chaotic emperor and the demon ancestor felt as if they were struck by lightning. Dark Lingxiao's physical body was about to shatter and his aura became extremely weak. Demon Ancestor, you're going to die today. If I could kill you 108 eras ago, I can wipe you out completely today. The Chaotic Emperor's cold voice rang out. The two figures were actually formed by Dark Lingxiao's own power. Hence, only Dark Lingxiao could hear their voices. Although the others could see the three powerful figures fighting in the 9 heavens, they could not hear what they were saying. What joy is there in life? What sorrow is there in death? If I die, the spirit of the demon tribe will not be extinguished. One day, the younger generation of the demon tribe will kill their way up to the 9 heavens and wipe out all of you who are high above. The demon ancestor sneered. His voice was filled with optimism and relief. Demonic light surged around him and shrouded Chaotic Emperor and Dark Lingxiao. Are you talking about him? Even if he's a Tao-proving emperor, I can crush him with one finger. Moreover, both of you have to die today. The Chaotic Emperor sneered. The blazing chaotic light around him surged like an ocean and annihilated the 3,000 rays of destructive light. Then, he charged towards the demon ancestor and Dark Lingxiao. Dark Lingxiao's face was extremely cold. He did not trust anyone. He did not trust the Chaotic Emperor, so naturally, he did not trust the demon ancestor. However, Dark Lingxiao still heard many secrets from their conversation. Cracks appeared on his physical body and his primordial spirit became dispirited. It was as if he would be crushed into dust at any time. However, his eyes were still bright and sharp. They were filled with madness and killing intent. Even if he had the last bit of strength left, he was still fighting. Ha ha ha. Junior, you didn't disappoint me. I hope that you will live and die without fear of honor or disgrace. One day, you will be able to kill the 9 heavens and fight for a bright and worry-free future for the demon tribe. The demon ancestor stared at Dark Lingxiao. His eyes were filled with admiration as he laughed out loud. Rumble. As he laughed, the demonic light around him surged. Rays of origin energy rose. Even the entire demon ancestor's sacred mountain began to tremble violently. Black divine chains of order rose from the demon ancestor's body and the demon ancestor's sacred mountain. They burned with ethereal fire and wrapped around the phantom of the primal chaos emperor. The apparitions of the demon ancestor and the chaotic emperor were enveloped by the ethereal fire at the same time. Then, they flew towards Dark Lingxiao. Demon ancestor, you're willing to sacrifice your soul to help this ant? You've only killed one of my avatars. Is it worth it? The chaotic emperor said coldly. This was the fire of order that the demon ancestor used to burn his own origin energy. It was also the fire of destruction. His avatar could not withstand it at all. Hence, he gave up struggling. However, the primal chaos emperor looked at the demon ancestor in confusion. He's an ant in your eyes, but he's hope in my eyes. As long as there's a glimmer of hope, why wouldn't it be worth it? Burn my remnant body and see the light at last. The demon ancestor's old and arrogant voice sounded. It was filled with relief and endless expectations. At the same time, his eyes were filled with laughter as he looked at Dark Lingxiao. Rumble. The endless flames engulfed the chaotic emperor and the demon ancestor. Then, they turned into two vast rays of light that instantly surged into Dark Lingxiao's body. Darkness Lingxiao's body instantly blossomed with a blazing light, and a mysterious emperor's aura gushed out. That terrifying aura instantly broke through the heavenly punishment and lightning tribulation that filled the sky. Dark Lingxiao had successfully attained the Tao and become an emperor. However, when he looked at the demon ancestor's sacred mountain that had turned into ruins below, the demon ancestor's words still echoed in his mind. His eyes flickered with an uncertain light. He was silent. Chapter 33-44. Oh no! Kill him! Primitive demon emperor's heart raced as his eyes were filled with shock. Although he could not hear the voices of the primal chaos emperor and the demon ancestor, he could see them perishing together. Their perishing together seemed to have helped dark soaring sky to break through to the unparalleled great emperor realm. Without any hesitation, primitive demon emperor attacked immediately. Rumble. The huge primitive banner gave off a blinding light as its emperor's aura gushed out. It was like a black curtain that shrouded dark soaring sky. At the same time, two powerful figures, one with a saber and the other with a sword, also burst out with emperor's aura. The saber radiance and the sword aura intertwined with each other, containing boundless destructive power as they slashed down on dark soaring sky. One had to admit that primitive demon emperor's timing was perfect. Dark soaring sky had just become a great emperor and was distracted by the words of the primal chaos emperor and the demon ancestor. It was also his weakest moment. Three peerless great emperors struck at the same time, wanting to kill dark soaring sky. What? The surrounding crowd was also stunned. They did not expect that someone would ambush dark soaring sky around the demon ancestor's sacred mountain and chose this moment to launch a fatal attack on him. Rumble. Within the primitive banner, divine chains of order intertwined with each other. They contained primitive power, ancient and immortal. In an instant, they shrouded dark soaring sky. In the void, a peerless sword radiance and a saber radiance that contained boundless killing intent slashed down from the sky and hit dark soaring sky's body. The blazing light instantly engulfed the dark clouds. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths at this moment. Could it be that the demon master was going to fall at this moment? Rumble. However, in the next moment, a blinding blood radiance exploded. Boundless blood radiance surged like a vast sea of blood. At the same time, the demon clan's origin energy intertwined and swept out in all directions, revealing a domineering figure. Darkness Lingxiao's eyes were incomparably cold. The baleful aura around his body boiled. His black hair danced wildly. His entire body was enveloped by a blood-red light. He gripped the sword with one hand and the blade with the other. The vast blood-red light around his body burst into raging flames, burning all the divine chains shot out from the original streamer into nothingness. You finally can't hold it in anymore. Darkness Ling Zhao's voice was bone-chilling and contained an incomparably cold killing intent. Boom! There seemed to be endless power bursting out of his arms. Two huge palm prints pushed forward and slammed into the two great emperors with unparalleled divine force, sending them flying. He was like a tyrannosaurus that soared into the sky in an instant. Blazing blood light rose around him and spread out in all directions. It was like a blood boundary that enveloped the entire demonic ancestor's sacred mountain. Without any hesitation, he punched out. The fist radiance that was filled with killing intent reflected the shocked face of primitive devil emperor. Crack! The original streamer in primitive devil emperor's hand was sent flying by Darkness Ling Zhao's punch. Unable to dodge, primitive devil emperor took Darkness Ling Zhao's punch head-on. Instantly, his arm turned into dust and exploded into a bloody mist in the void. Primitive devil emperor was sent flying as well. Roar! Darkness Ling Zhao let out a furious roar that shook the heavens and earth. It was as if an immemorial divine demon had awakened. It was ancient and boundless, containing an overbearing and domineering aura. Monstrous demonic aura spread out in all directions. It made Darkness Ling Zhao look like a peerless demon that had walked out from the endless darkness. His aura was extremely terrifying. Primitive devil emperor and the two great emperors trembled. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. The surrounding people coughed up blood from the impact of Darkness Ling Zhao's roar. Their faces were extremely pale. Damn it! How did his strength increase so much? Primitive Devil Emperor's face was extremely ugly. He had not expected Darkness Ling Zhao's strength to increase by 100 times after he had verified his Dao and become an emperor. Now, he could not even take one punch from Darkness Ling Zhao. The two helpers that he had found were both great emperors of Epoch. They were extremely powerful and could kill great emperors of Epoch if they joined forces. Unexpectedly, they were no match for Darkness Ling Zhao. Primitive, your information is wrong. This demon master has just verified his Dao and his strength is not weaker than great emperors of Epoch. How is this possible? The faces of the two great emperors turned ghastly pale. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They were two middle-aged men with heroic figures. One was wearing a golden robe, while the other was wearing a silver robe. Their faces were incomparably cold, and their killing intent was pervading the air. Their faces were somewhat similar, as if they were twin brothers. However, they were notorious and many great emperors were wary of them. No one dared to be their enemy. They were called Great Emperor Golden Blade and Great Emperor Silver Sword. They usually worked together and their strength was extremely ferocious. However, from Darkness Ling Zhao's body, they felt a kind of power that made them shudder with fear. It was extremely dangerous. They could not figure out how a person who had just verified his Tao and become an emperor could have such terrifying strength. But what they did not expect was that Demon Alpha had burned the last of his origin in order to complete Dark Soaring Sky. He had even combined with a doppelganger of Chaos King. At the same time, he had merged with Dark Soaring Sky's body to complete Dark Soaring Sky. Darkness Ling Zhao's foundation was extremely strong and the origin demon bone was left behind by Demon Ancestor. It could be said that he had received the fate of the demon tribe. Now that he had verified his Tao and become an emperor, he had soared. The infinite demon armor that Demon Ancestor had left behind was completely refined by Darkness Ling Zhao. Now, it was not an exaggeration to say that Darkness Ling Zhao was another demon ancestor. Primitive Devil Emperor, I was still worrying about how to kill you. I did not expect you to come to me yourself. Since you want to die, leave your life here today. Darkness Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Primitive Devil Emperor. Boom! He stomped his foot and instantly, it was like an earthquake. Terrifying sound waves spread out in all directions. Blazing blood light bloomed around him as the infinite demon armor had completely merged with him, allowing him to explode with boundless strength as he threw a punch at Primitive Devil Emperor. The unparalleled fist print contained the power of light and darkness. It was like a prison that trapped Primitive Devil Emperor within, making it impossible for him to break free. Original Devil Monarch's expression changed drastically. He wanted to dodge this punch, but he realized that he couldn't. He didn't dare to take this punch head-on, so he could only activate the original banner and turn it into a black ocean, blocking in front of Dark Cloud. Boom! The black ocean exploded as the light and darkness fist print landed on the primitive banner. The primitive banner shook violently and was sent flying along with Primitive Devil Emperor. Big brother, this demon lord is not to be trifled with. What should we do? Silver Sword Great Emperor looked at Golden Blade Great Emperor and said fearfully. What else can we do? If we can't win, run. How dare that old bastard Primitive Devil Emperor set us up? We'll settle the score with him in the future. Golden Blade Emperor sneered coldly. Swoosh! He immediately jumped and teleported into the distance. There was a blood-red barrier around the demonic ancestor's sacred mountain. Mysterious runes intertwined and the demonic origin energy rose like a prison. The golden saber in the hands of the golden saber Great Emperor shone with a dazzling light. Suddenly, the saber slashed down, trying to break the blood-colored enchantment. Boom! The blood-red barrier shook violently as the runes shone brightly. However, it was not broken. Instead, Golden Bird Emperor's body shook violently as he was sent flying. Damn it! Silver Sword Emperor's face was filled with shock. He stabbed out with his sword as well. Sparks flew everywhere as the sword radiance was destroyed. He was sent flying back as well. Big brother, let's combine our blades and break this damn barrier. Silver Sword Emperor looked at Golden Blade Emperor and said. All right. The Golden Blade Emperor's eyes shone brightly. In an instant, the blade will around his body surged. The mighty blade radiance was like the Milky Way, flowing endlessly. On the other hand, Silver Sword Emperor was surrounded by sword chi. His sword intent burst out and merged with Golden Sword Emperor's blade intent. They formed a dazzling light of destruction. It contained the power of the blade and sword. It slashed towards the blood-red enchantment. Crack! Lightning flashed across the sky as heaven and earth shook. The runes on the blood-red barrier were destroyed. The blood-red barrier also shook violently as if it was going to shatter at any time. However, in the next moment, endless blood-red light surged as the vast demonic origin energy rose. It was as if endless providence was gathering as the blood-red barrier solidified again. Everyone, listen up. Stop these two for our demon lord at all costs. Luo Mo bellowed. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. Yes. The Grand Elders of the Grand Elder Society roared in agreement. The 360 Grand Elders activated the formation flags in their hands, erupting with extremely powerful formation power to provide a steady stream of energy to the blood-red barrier. Even when Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silver Sword attacked at the same time, they still couldn't break the blood enchantment. These damned ants. When I get out, I'll kill all of them. Golden Blade Emperor and Silver Sword Emperor were so angry that their noses were about to become crooked. Their eyes shone with ferocious light. They had never thought that these ants that they had looked down upon would actually form a powerful formation and trap them here. Trying to leave. Leave your life here first. Darkness Lingxiao said coldly. Blazing light shot out from his palm and turned into a black demonic light that shrouded Golden Blade Emperor and Silver Sword Emperor. In the black demonic light, there seemed to be the roar of an Archean divine demon. Blade radiance and sword chi intertwined as various mysterious weapons gathered. They were extremely sharp and wanted to bury them completely. Demonic weapon Heaven's Burial. This was a supreme forbidden skill that Darkness Lingxiao had comprehended from the origin demonic bone after he became an emperor. It was extremely powerful and could be considered the inheritance of the demonic ancestor. The terrifying aura made Golden Blade Emperor and Silver Sword Emperor's scalp tingle. They immediately prepared themselves and fought against the swords and sabers as if they were facing a formidable enemy. How could they care about breaking the blood-red barrier? They were about to curse in their hearts. If they had known that Darkness Lingxiao was so powerful, they would not have come here no matter how much they were offered, let alone the origin demonic bone. They had already cursed primitive demon emperor's ancestors in their hearts. This immoral bastard, he was courting death and even implicated the two of them. After Darkness Lingxiao used demonic weapon Heaven's Burial, he ignored Golden Blade Emperor and Silver Sword Emperor and turned around to continue suppressing Primitive Demon Emperor. Primitive Demon Emperor was extremely frustrated. Darkness Lingxiao had obviously gone berserk and would not stop until he killed him. He had wanted to take advantage of the situation, but he did not expect to be in such an awkward situation again. Get out of my way. Primitive Demon Emperor roared as demonic light surged around him. It was as if there were beams of destructive light shooting towards Darkness Lingxiao's vital parts like arrows. His entire body used a teleportation technique. Like an illusory shadow, he instantly teleported into the distance. Clang! 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 Now that Darkness Lingxiao had attained the martial monarch realm, his physical body was immortal. Not to mention, he had the infinite demonic armor to protect himself. Even an extreme Dao monarch weapon could not do anything to him. When those destructive light beams landed on him, he did not even bother to defend himself. Sparks flew all over his body as he charged towards Primitive Demon Emperor. Kacha! The unparalleled fist imprint landed once more, locking onto Primitive Demon Emperor. Primitive weapon release, boundless heaven evasion. Primitive Demon Emperor's expression changed drastically as he spat out some obscure syllables. Instantly, blood-red light shot out from his body and he exploded in the void. Instantly, he split into thousands of figures and flew in all directions. When Darkness Lingxiao's fist landed, the void shook and the stars shook. Although he had killed hundreds of figures in an instant, none of them were Primitive Demon Emperor's real body. On the other hand, Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silversword, who were trapped by Heaven's Burial Zone, were affected by Darkness Lingxiao's fist. They trembled and spat out blood. Die! Dark Soaring Clouds was not going to let them go. Dark Soaring Clouds was surrounded by a murderous aura and demonic light. It was like a giant wave that drowned Emperor Jin Dao and Emperor Silversword in an instant. Primitive, I'm not done with you. Both Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silver Sword were extremely aggrieved. Their eyes were filled with extreme anger. At this moment, what they hated the most was not darkness soaring sky, but primordial. Primitive was the reason why they were in such a dangerous situation. Boom! Boom! Although Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silver Sword were strong, their blade radiance and sword chi could not do any harm to Darkness Lingxiao. Instead, Darkness Lingxiao's terrifying fist print almost shattered their bodies. They were sent flying while coughing out blood. What happened next made them so angry that their eyes almost popped out. The blood-red enchantment, which was extremely troublesome for them to break, was easily penetrated by the thousands of shadows of the primitive Devil Emperor, and reformed into the appearance of the primitive Devil Emperor. However, the primitive Demon Emperor looked like he had suffered a huge blow to his vitality. He looked extremely haggard. Great! Demon Master, I'll remember you. Just you wait. Primitive Demon Emperor stared at Darkness Lingxiao and said fiercely. Then, he teleported away without looking back. Even Darkness Lingxiao was a little surprised. He never thought that primitive Devil Emperor would be able to teleport out so quietly. The barrier he set up with the origin power of the Devil Ancestor had no effect on primitive Devil Emperor. Once again, primitive Demon Emperor escaped. Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silversword were dumbfounded. They trembled violently and spat out a mouthful of blood. Primitive, fuck you. A miserable and hateful roar resounded through the sky, reaching everyone's minds. The bone-deep hatred caused everyone's hearts to involuntarily tremble. Rumble. Although Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silversword were frustrated and hated primitive Demon Emperor, Darkness Lingxiao did not show any mercy. Since primitive Demon Emperor had escaped, he turned his attention to the two of them. Demonic light surged and blood chi filled the air. Great Emperor Jin Dao and Great Emperor Silversword were instantly devoured by the light. Darkness Lingxiao attacked with all his might and started to kill the two of them. Chapter 33-45. The sky above the demon ancestors' sacred mountain was filled with crimson light and murderous aura. It was like a scene from Azura Hell. Darkness Lingxiao was wearing the crimson infinite demonic armor. He was surrounded by a sea of blood. His eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. Vast demonic Tao origin energy intertwined and formed various mysterious scenes around him. It was like a battle between chaos gods and demons, where all living beings fell and the heavens and earth shattered. He was holding a saber and a sword in his hands. There were still blood stains on the golden saber and silver sword. At this moment, the saber and sword were humming and trembling slightly as if they were mourning. Everyone's eyes were filled with reverence as they looked at Dark Soaring Cloud. Great Emperor Golden Saber and Great Emperor Silver Sword had fallen. They had died miserably. Great Emperor Golden Saber was torn apart by Darkness Lingxiao. Great Emperor Silver Sword was blasted apart by Darkness Lingxiao's fist. After primitive Demon Emperor had escaped, the two of them tried their best to defend themselves. However, they were no match for Darkness Lingxiao. In the end, they both died in the hands of Darkness Lingxiao. Everyone's face turned pale. Thinking of the scene just now, and then looking at Dark Soaring Firmament, they all trembled and almost knelt in front of Dark Soaring Firmament. Demon Lord is invincible. Rama was trembling with excitement. His eyes were filled with fanatical reverence as he knelt down in front of Darkness Lingxiao. He was loyal to the demon race. However, he knew better than anyone that the demon race needed a true master. A true master who could suppress the demon race and make the demon emperors bow down to him. A true master of the demon race. Only then would the powerful demon race not be torn apart by internal strife. Only then would the demon race not be weakened by internal strife. Now, he saw it. Darkness Lingxiao was the true master of the demon race. Demon Lord is invincible. Demon Lord is invincible. The founding elders of the Founding Elder Society knelt down in front of Darkness Lingxiao. The surrounding people also knelt down unconsciously. Their eyes were filled with reverence. Their voices gradually became a torrent. In the end, it was like thunder that filled the sky. It resounded through the sky and shook the entire demon race territory. Blood rained down from the sky and fell on every demon race member. However, they did not move. All that was left in their eyes was the overbearing figure. The birth of the Devil Master let them see endless hope. Darkness Ling Zhao's gaze swept across Rama, the many founding elders of the Patriarch Society, and the many experts of the demon race. His gaze was indifferent, but there was a slight ripple in it. He thought of the fiend ancestor. The devil ancestor, who was said to have died in the first epoch, was the one who had helped Dark Soaring Sky gather the devil race's origin and destiny, allowing Dark Soaring Sky to become the true Devil Lord. Although he could be considered to have used the Dark Soaring Firmament, whether it was the Origin Demon Bone or the Infinite Demon Armor, they were both items of the Archdevil ancestor. But he did it for the entire demon race. Such a person was always worthy of respect. Darkness Soaring Heavens couldn't bring himself to hate him. Moreover, after confirming his Tao and becoming a martial monarch, some of his thoughts seemed to have become clearer. The path ahead of him also gradually became more solid and powerful, no longer illusory. Darkness Soaring Clouds felt that perhaps it was time to make a break with the past. As the Demon Lord, I will rule the world as a demon. An indifferent and cold voice came out of Darkness Soaring Sky's mouth. It was incomparably clear and transmitted to everyone's ears. Everyone couldn't help but tremble. They felt as if the blood in their bodies was burning. Their eyes were red, and they were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. They all began to shout at the top of their lungs. Demon Lord! Demon Lord! The huge sound waves converged into a torrent, shaking the entire demon race's territory. It also shocked the Eldritch continent. Unknowingly, an invisible thread seemed to have been severed from Darkness Soaring Sky's body. In the feign of destiny, Ling Xiao suddenly opened his eyes. There was a complicated and gratified expression in his eyes. In the end, you've become yourself. Perhaps this isn't a bad choice. Ling Xiao's voice was filled with a trace of sigh and relief. Then he slowly closed his eyes again. Vast and ethereal sovereign power filled the air around him. His fusion of the Great Tao's origin had reached 90%. It was the most critical moment. The Heavenly Court. In the vast sea of faith clouds, Faith Soaring Sky opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the demon race's territory. He's one step ahead of me. He's even given birth to his own consciousness and severed the connection with his original body. It seems that I have to speed up. Faith Soaring Sky whispered to himself. There seemed to be countless mysterious rays of light intertwining in his eyes. The power of faith around him poured into his body and then dissipated, merging into the sea of faith clouds. All kinds of mysterious and unfathomable scenes emerged in the surrounding sea of faith clouds. There seemed to be all living beings worshipping there. The sound of the great Tao intertwined, the creation of heaven and earth, and the evolution of all things. As Faith Soaring Sky inhaled and exhaled, his aura was tainted with some kind of strange Tao rhythm. Demon Lord? What a joke. I didn't expect that although that old thing is dead, he still chose a brat who's still wet behind the ears. When this seat comes out of seclusion, it will be the time of your death. In the demon race's territory, in a mysterious space, an ancient and cold voice full of anger rang out. The surroundings were filled with a mysterious aura. The vast life source shrouded an old figure. It seemed to be the undying demon emperor who hunted Soaring Sky not long ago. The place where he was hiding was very secretive. No one knew where he was. As for what was happening in the outside world, he was clearly aware of it. Undying. But at this moment, an incomparably cold voice rang out. Lord Sovereign. The undying demon emperor's body trembled slightly. His eyes revealed a trace of incomparable respect, and he immediately bowed. You can't touch the demon lord now. The indifferent voice rang out. Why? The undying demon emperor was slightly taken aback and asked somewhat puzzled. He's of great use. In short, you don't touch him for the time being. Listen to my orders and the demon lord's position is still yours. Yes. Although the undying demon emperor was somewhat unwilling, he still nodded and agreed. This lord sovereign could crush him with a finger. His strength was extremely powerful and unfathomable. He didn't dare to have any thoughts of disobedience. Very good. The demon lord will die soon, and this eldritch continent will soon usher in a real war. As long as you are loyal to me, you will not only be the demon lord, but also have a chance to truly transcend. The indifferent voice rang out. Transcend? The undying demon emperor trembled all over, and his breathing became somewhat rapid. In the end, he nodded heavily, and the aura around his body gradually calmed down. The great Lord Sovereign's strength was unfathomable. Even the most amazing heavenly emperor of the human race had indirectly died in his hands. The undying demon emperor naturally believed his words without a doubt. I'll let you live for a few more days. The undying demon emperor thought coldly in his heart. Chapter 33-46. There was a chaotic void. A blood-colored palace was hidden in the void. Inside the palace, a sea of blood rose and immortal light filled the air. There seemed to be the sound of the great Tao intertwining. The Chaos Saint, who had been taken away by the Chaos Emperor, was sitting cross-legged in the sea of blood and absorbing the boundless source of blood around him. Mysterious figures circled around him. There was an old man, a middle-aged man, and a child. The three mysterious figures seemed to contain the aura of the past, present, and future. In the end, the three figures all merged into the Primal Chaos Saint's body. The Primal Chaos Saint's aura began to skyrocket. Rumble. Streaks of blazing lightning intertwined with each other as a vast Emperor aura gushed out. The Primal Chaos Saint welcomed his Emperor Tribulation in this mysterious void. His Tao affirmation Emperor Tribulation was ferocious. It was as if 3,000 great Taos were pressing down. It contained terrifying waves of energy that could destroy everything. It was extremely powerful. Such a Tao affirmation Emperor Tribulation could even kill an ordinary great emperor. However, the Chaos Saint bathed in the lightning that filled the sky. A mysterious sword intent seemed to awaken around him. It was ancient and boundless, and it spread out mightily. Sword chi swept across the field, illuminating the endless void. The lightning that filled the sky was destroyed by the sword chi. This terrifying Tao affirmation Emperor Tribulation seemed to have no effect on the Chaos Saint. Soon, the Chaos Saint passed the Tao affirmation Emperor Tribulation and broke through to the Great Emperor realm. Boom! He slowly opened his eyes. Two strange rays of light bloomed, as if they could penetrate everything. They were mysterious and unfathomable. His eyes were ancient and vicissitudes of life flowed with the aura of time as if countless years had passed. At the same time, they contained a terrifying sword intent. Another epoch. I, Tong Tian, am back, the old voice echoed in the blood-colored palace. He stood up from the boundless sea of blood. Blazing light rose from his body, and a mighty aura erupted, as if it could annihilate everything. Behind him were the figures of an old man, a middle-aged man, and a child. One was radiating boundless immortal light, the other was filled with blazing divine light, and the last was intertwined with boundless fortune of the human race. In the end, they all gathered in the body of the chaotic saint. Terrifying Emperor aura wreaked havoc around him as if he was extremely powerful. Even those peak great emperors did not have such terrifying aura. A chaotic figure appeared in front of him. Tong Tian greets the Lord Ruler. The Primal Chaos Saint looked at the chaotic figure in front of him with a hint of emotion in his eyes. In the end, he bowed to show his submission. The figure before him was none other than the Primal Chaos Emperor. He knew better than anyone how terrifying the Primal Chaos Emperor was. The Primal Chaos Emperor was unfathomable to allow him to fuse with the power of 3 lifetimes, awaken the true spirit of 3 lifetimes, and become an emperor in this lifetime. Get up. Should I call you the heaven-reaching emperor of the human race, the heaven-reaching immortal emperor of the immortal race, or the heaven-reaching sect master of the divine race? The indifferent voice of the primal chaos emperor sounded. Let bygones be bygones. From this day forth, I am the heaven-span emperor, the most loyal servant of the Lord Sovereign. The holy son of primal chaos, or rather, the heaven-span grand monarch, said slowly. He had already lived 3 lifetimes. The holy son of primal chaos could be considered his 4th life. In his first life, he was the heaven-reaching emperor of the human race, the teacher of the human race, and also the master of the celestial emperor. In the end, he passed away due to the exhaustion of his lifespan. In his second life, he was the heaven-reaching immortal emperor of the immortal race. Although he had the bloodline of the divine race and was called the heaven-reaching ancestor god by the divine race, he was indeed born in the immortal race. He had proven his Tao with the supreme sword Tao. The heaven-reaching 4 immortal swords and the heaven-reaching array diagram were all left behind by him. In his third life, he was the heaven-reaching sect master of the divine race. He was in charge of the old god cult and was a supreme sky pride. He fought in the Eternal Emperor Road to obtain the secret of transcendence, but in the end, he fell in the Emperor Road. Rather than saying that the Holy Son of Primal Chaos was his 4th form, it was more accurate to say that it was a backup plan left behind by the Primal Chaos Emperor. The Holy Son of Primal Chaos was his true body, and he had left behind his true spirit so that he would not completely fall. Now, the power of 3 lifetimes had awakened and he had proven his Tao to become an emperor. The Celestial Emperor died because of you, the immortal race declined because of you, and Ling Shao rose because of you. Now, my plan is almost complete. Once Ling Shao takes that final step, it will be time for me to reap the harvest. You've done well. The Primal Chaos Emperor looked at the heaven-reaching Great Emperor with a trace of satisfaction in his eyes. Lord Ruler, I'm afraid the other 3 lords won't just stand by and watch you gain everything, right? If there's anything you need me to do, just tell me. The heaven-reaching Great Emperor said respectfully. The other 3. The immortal race declined because of you, and fate is no longer to be feared. The Buddhist sect was destroyed by me, and the Buddhist realm was destroyed by me. Although they are rising from the ashes, they won't be able to do much. Karma doesn't dare to oppose me. The only one I'm wary of is samsara. You're right, I need you to do something for me. Samsara is hibernating in the dark realm. I need you to seal the gate of dark realm and prevent him from leaving. Once I've taken down Ling Shao, dealing with samsara will be a piece of cake. The Primal Chaos Emperor said indifferently. Seal the gate of dark realm? With my strength, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to do that, right? The heaven-reaching Great Emperor asked. Of course it'll be difficult with your strength. But if you seal the gate of dark realm, it'll be a signal that he understands. If he really wants to shed all pretense of cordiality and make other moves, I have my own ways to deal with him. The Primal Chaos Emperor sneered. Understood. The heaven-reaching Great Emperor said respectfully. As long as the 3 of them aren't around, the wilderness is under my control. After countless years of planning, it's finally time to reel in the net. The Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes flickered with flickering light, as if there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood, as well as a bizarre scene of the destruction of heaven and earth. It was terrifying to the extreme. Lord Ruler, there's one more person we must guard against. The heaven-reaching Great Emperor said slowly after a moment of thought. You mean the textless heavenly books artifact spirit? The artifact spirits of the 10 ultimate chaos treasures naturally have their own ideas, but most of them aren't worth worrying about. Only the textless heavenly books artifact spirit is the happiest. I didn't make a move before because I wanted to make use of it. He'll definitely appear this time, but it'll also be his death. The Primal Chaos Emperor sneered. At the mention of the textless heavenly books artifact spirit, his indifferent voice seemed to be filled with disdain and coldness. Since Lord Ruler's plan is flawless, I'll do as you say. The heaven-reaching Great Emperor cupped his hands and bowed. You know the location of the Gate of Dark Realm. Seal the Gate of Dark Realm as soon as possible. When everything is over, I'll help you transcend and make you truly immortal. The primal Chaos Emperor glanced indifferently at the heaven-reaching Great Emperor. Then, the primal chaos light around him spread and he quickly disappeared into the void. Farewell, Lord Ruler. The heaven-reaching Great Emperor bowed. When the primal Chaos Emperor was completely gone, he raised his head and revealed a strange smile. Lingxiao Mountain Range, Heavenly Court. The cloud of faith shrouded an area of hundreds of millions of miles. Wherever the cloud of faith shrouded, the spiritual qi would recover and become incomparably rich. Everywhere was like a paradise with all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures growing. The cultivation of countless humans was also advancing by leaps and bounds. At this moment, in the sky above the cloud of faith, endless lightning gathered, heavenly fire blazed, and vast heavenly might gathered, exuding a destructive aura as if it was going to completely destroy the heavenly court. Faith Lingxiao's entire body was dazzling with golden light, exuding an eternal light. He was 10,000 feet tall and stood above the endless cloud of faith. His indifferent eyes looked straight at the lightning that filled the sky. This was the Emperor Tribulation of Faith Lingxiao. The entire human race, and even many people in the Eldritch continent, were extremely shocked and puzzled. They originally thought that Lingxiao would be the first to validate his Tao and become the 10th emperor of the human race. Who would have thought that the mysterious Emperor of Faith would actually usher in his Tao validation tribulation at this moment? Lingxiao had already come out of seclusion. He, the white dragon horse, the old goat, and the others were all in the Lingxiao palace of the heavenly court, watching the Emperor Tribulation of Faith Lingxiao. After Lingxiao devoured all the life origin of the Chaos Palace and the Fane of Destiny, the great Tao origin in his body had already merged to 99% with the life reversal technique. He was only one step away from completing the final fusion. However, that last step seemed to be a bottleneck for Lingxiao, shutting him out. Lingxiao also had a premonition that if he could take that last step, he would be able to usher in his true Tao validation tribulation and step onto the supreme path of transcendence. However, that last step was bound to be incomparably difficult. It wasn't something that could be broken through simply by relying on the life reversal technique and a vast amount of life origin. However, only by taking that last step would Lingxiao be qualified to compete with those behind the scenes. Although he knew that there were many schemes, many conspiracies, and many traces of manipulation behind the scenes, this was a true open conspiracy. It was like an arrow on the bow that had to be released. Lingxiao also had no way out. Today, Faith Lingxiao was going to transcend the tribulation, not only because Faith Lingxiao's cultivation had reached the last step, but more importantly, Faith Lingxiao also hoped that through this tribulation, Lingxiao could gain some insights. Perhaps he could step into the transcendent realm in one fell swoop. Darkness has already cut off the connection with me, and now Faith has also taken that last step. However, for many people, the existence of my two clones is probably not a secret. Lingxiao thought secretly in his heart. Sensing the powerful aura fluctuations on Faith Lingxiao's body, Lingxiao's heart was filled with a lot of gratification. The path Faith Lingxiao took was different from his and the others. It was destined to be a path that no one had ever taken before. Lingxiao was also full of expectations as to how far Faith Lingxiao could go. All the schemes are because of the lack of strength. If I have the strength to suppress the heavens, no matter how many schemes you have, I only need to break them with one punch. I'm really curious about the people who want to use me as a pawn. Lingxiao thought secretly in his heart, and there was a trace of sharpness in his eyes. As his cultivation grew stronger, Lingxiao gradually became aware of those traces. Although they were very small, they were traces of someone's arrangements. Soon, it was the time for the final conclusion. Rumble. At the same time, thunderbolts surged all over the sky, as thick as mountains, containing a vast destructive power, locking Faith Lingxiao in place. The heavenly might was like a prison, suppressing all living beings. Faith Lingxiao's Emperor Tribulation had completely descended. The Apex. Chapter 33-47. Boom. Above the sky, blazing lightning shone in all directions, surging like a huge wave, as if the heavenly river was flowing backwards, shrouding Faith Lingxiao in an instant. The destructive power contained in the lightning tribulation constantly surged into Faith Ling Zhao's body, wanting to completely turn him into dust. Faith Ling Zhao's whole body was dazzling with golden light, exuding an immortal light, shooting out from the lightning like a dazzling sun, blooming with eternal light. He struck out with his palm, and the palm print was unparalleled. Flying immortal light bloomed from it, and vaguely, an immortal emperor flew out, annihilating the lightning bolts. A bright light beam flew out from between his eyebrows, containing divine fluctuations, enveloping the void in all directions, and returned to nothingness at the same time as the lightning tribulation. Behind him, chaotic light rose, as if it was splitting the heaven and earth, showing all kinds of mysterious scenes. Faith Ling Zhao seemed to be very relaxed as he crossed the Emperor Tribulation, and the lightning tribulation that filled the sky couldn't cause him the slightest harm. The Emperor Lord of Faith is really powerful, no wonder even the Blood Prison Demon Emperor was defeated by him. I'm afraid that for him, the Emperor Tribulation won't be difficult. Someone exclaimed in surprise. That's right. It's said that the identity of the Emperor Lord of Faith is incomparably mysterious, but he's on good terms with Ling Zhao. As the Lord of the Heavenly Court, his strength is unfathomable. If he becomes an emperor, Ling Zhao will be like a tiger that has grown wings. When Ling Zhao becomes an emperor, the human race will have 2 emperors. Although it can't be compared to the 9 emperors era, it's still extremely glorious. It seems that the human race is really going to rise. Don't provoke the human race in the future. In the era of great battles, the human race is indeed worthy of being called the race of destiny. It's really enviable. Everyone's eyes were filled with envy as they looked at Faith Ling Zhao. Something's wrong. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and he whispered to himself. What's wrong? I'm afraid that the Emperor Lord of Faith will soon become the great Emperor of Faith, right? The white dragon horse snorted, and its eyes revealed an incomparably envious look. Becoming an emperor. This was the ultimate dream of everyone. He wondered when the white dragon horse would be able to prove its Tao and become an emperor. The white dragon horse had even thought of a name for itself. If it were to become an emperor, it would call itself the White Emperor. There's something wrong with this Tao confirming Emperor Tribulation. His power of faith is being consumed too quickly. Ling Zhao said slowly. Faith Soaring Sky was a clone condensed from the power of faith. The source of his power was the power of faith. Over the years, Faith Ling Zhao had led the Celestial Court's many powerhouses on expeditions all over the world. He had gathered a massive amount of faith power and even cultivated the great Tao of faith to perfection. In Ling Zhao's opinion, it should be easy to prove one's Tao through faith. However, the scene in front of him made him detect a trace of an unusual aura. Faith Soaring Firmament's faith power was being consumed too quickly. It was as if there was a bottomless pit inside Faith Soaring Firmament's body that was continuously devouring the faith source. Although Faith Soaring Firmament seemed to be transcending the tribulation very easily, his power was being consumed very quickly. Don't worry, the existence in my body should be waking up soon. As if sensing Ling Zhao's doubts and worries, Faith Soaring Firmament's voice passed into Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. It was calm and indifferent. Existence in your body? Ling Zhao's body trembled, and a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. Could there be some kind of living being in Faith Soaring Firmament's body? However, Faith Soaring Firmament was Ling Zhao's clone, and Ling Zhao should know him like the back of his hand. He never thought that there would be some kind of unknown existence in Faith Soaring Firmament's body. Boom! At this moment, an ancient and mysterious aura erupted from Faith Soaring Firmament's body. Mighty Emperor aura surged out, and majestic vitality filled the air. There seemed to be a small sun in his chest, blooming with blazing and dazzling brilliance. Everyone could vaguely see that there was a mysterious figure there. Finally, another person has set foot on the great Tao of faith. An ancient and mysterious voice sounded. The figure seemed to have walked out of Faith Soaring Firmament's body, and was constantly stealing the power in Faith Soaring Firmament's body. In the blink of an eye, Faith Soaring Firmament became extremely weak, and was on the verge of collapse. The figure was like a mysterious great emperor, exuding an invincible aura and pressure. "Who's that?" someone exclaimed in surprise. Even the old goat and Taoist Wuliang were trembling, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. "Let's wait and see." Ling Xiao stopped them and said in a deep voice. He believed in faith-soaring firmament. Since faith-soaring firmament had already sensed the existence in his body, and chose to undergo the tribulation at this moment, he must have a way to deal with it. "Who are you?" Faith-soaring firmament looked at the figure that walked out of his body and asked calmly. "You can call me Great Emperor of Faith." The mysterious figure in front of him smiled indifferently. "Great Emperor of Faith? Sure enough, the great Tao of Faith has been occupied by you. Are you borrowing my body to be reborn?" Faith-soaring firmament did not seem to have the slightest doubt and asked indifferently. "Great Emperor of Faith? Didn't the legends say that he had fallen in the ancient times? I didn't expect him to still be alive. With the immeasurable tribulation coming, I didn't expect all kinds of monsters to come out." Taoist Wuliang's eyes revealed a trace of shock and said slowly. "He's not alive. I'm afraid that he exists in another form. As long as someone cultivates the great Tao of Faith to the great perfection realm, he can awaken his true spirit and be reborn." Ling Xiao said slowly with a trace of strange light in his eyes. He saw through the great Emperor of Faith in front of him at a glance. However, the great Emperor of Faith in front of him could deceive his perception, which showed that this great Emperor of Faith was extremely powerful. "Rebirth? No, 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 you and I are one. I am you, and you are me. The moment you cultivated the great Tao of Faith, you have become a part of me. So, merge with me, and you will see what the true great Tao of Faith is." Faith-soaring firmament said slowly. He opened his arms, and his body exuded a mysterious light. A bright beam of light penetrated the heaven and earth, ancient and mysterious, filled with the aura of faith. The entire eldritch continent trembled slightly at this moment, as if it was being triggered by the Emperor of Faith. Specks of light gathered towards the Emperor of Faith. The myriad races in the heavens seemed to have believers of the great Emperor of Faith. Thousands of starlight gathered like a torrent. It was the purest power of faith, and the aura of the great Emperor of Faith began to rise rapidly. "So, you have entrusted your true spirit to the faith of the myriad races in the heavens? No wonder you can borrow my body to be reborn. It turns out that your true spirit has never fallen. Interesting. It seems that after killing you, I can use the great Tao of Faith to affirm my Tao and become an emperor." Ling Xiao carefully looked at the great Emperor of Faith in front of him, and a strange light flashed in his eyes as he said slowly. "Kill me? Ha ha ha. You are really courageous. However, the great Tao of Faith you cultivate is the method I pass down. How can you kill me? Be obedient and merge with me, and you will obtain eternal life." The great Emperor of Faith laughed loudly. His whole body exuded a strange aura, and then he walked towards Faith Ling Xiao. "You pass down the method, but the great Tao leads to the same destination. Today, I will use this lightning tribulation to kill you and help me achieve the supreme great Tao of Faith." Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent, but monstrous fighting intent erupted from his eyes. Rumble. An incomparably mysterious fire of nothingness burned around him, spreading like a sea of fire, shrouding towards the great Emperor of Faith. "You are courting death." The great Emperor of Faith's eyes revealed a trace of ridicule. He waved his sleeve and also rushed towards Ling Xiao. A great battle broke out in an instant. Chapter 33-48. Rumble. The battle between Faith Ling Xiao and the great Emperor of Faith was incomparably fierce. Blazing divine light rose, lightning intertwined, flames spread, and a vast emperor's aura shrouded the surroundings, capable of destroying all life. Two incomparably powerful figures shrouded in the mist of faith power, one golden and one purple, like two resplendent divine suns, constantly colliding. But Ling Xiao found that the power in Faith Ling Xiao's body was getting weaker and weaker, as if it was being extracted by the great Emperor of Faith. On the other hand, the great Emperor of Faith was like a rising sun, blooming with divine light. His originally incomparably illusory body was gradually solidifying. Boom! Faith Ling Xiao was blasted away by the great Emperor of Faith's fist, like a duckweed in the wind, as if he couldn't resist the terrifying explosive power of the great Emperor of Faith. Faith Ling Xiao's body was originally dazzling with golden light, but at this moment, it became incomparably dim. The sky full of lightning fell on Faith Ling Xiao's body, causing his body to tremble violently. Cracks appeared all over his body, as if his body would collapse at any time. It's useless, give up resisting. You've just confirmed your Tao and become an emperor, but I've survived the great calamity of an era. You're not my opponent. Be a good boy and merge with me. The great Emperor of Faith's voice was old and indifferent. His eyes were full of cold killing intent as he looked at Faith Ling Xiao, and there was even a trace of excitement. As long as he devoured Faith Ling Xiao, his great Tao of Faith would be completely perfected. At that time, he would become the greatest existence, immortal through the ages. Is that so? Faith Ling Xiao's expression was still incomparably calm, as if nothing could cause the slightest ripple in his heart. His body seemed to be about to be destroyed, and his faith power was about to be exhausted, but his extremely calm gaze made the great Emperor of Faith's heart tremble. You don't know life from death, then I'll fulfill your wish. The great Emperor of Faith snorted coldly. Killing intent surged all over his body, and an unparalleled light of faith converged, turning into a huge blade that seemed to be able to split heaven and earth. It crossed the sky and slashed towards Faith Ling Xiao. Kacha! The void distorted, and lightning raged. Faith Ling Xiao seemed to have given up all resistance, and was split in half by the great Emperor of Faith. What? The great Emperor of Faith died just like that? Someone said in disbelief. Faith Ling Xiao's Emperor's tribulation had also attracted the attention of countless people in the Eldritch continent. Around the Lingxiao mountain range, the gazes of many supreme experts had gathered. But what they didn't expect was that Faith Ling Xiao would fall just like that. Ling Xiao, are you going to kill this great Emperor of Conviction who came out of nowhere? The old goat, Taoist Wuliang, and the others also looked worried and angry. Don't worry. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, as if he was not worried at all. In his perception, Faith's soaring heavens had not fallen, and that vitality seemed to have been broken and then re-established, sublimated to the extreme, becoming stronger and stronger. Not dead yet? The great Emperor of Conviction stared at the lightning in the sky and his expression changed slightly. The Tao Corroboration Emperor Tribulation did not disappear. It was still ferocious. This meant that Faith Ling Xiao was still alive. However, how could a person who had just proven his Tao and become an emperor be able to block the attack of his blade of faith? The great Emperor of Faith had a bad premonition. Roar! At this moment, a vast and ancient dragon roar resounded, and it instantly resounded through the surroundings. Rumble! In the sky above the soaring heavens mountain range, endless power of faith gathered. Wind and clouds surged, thunder rumbled, and a terrifying aura erupted as if some kind of existence was about to awaken. The vast power of faith and boundless power converged into the vast sea of clouds like rivers returning to the sea, fusing with the power of faith into the sky. In the vast sea of clouds, a figure with an incomparably terrifying aura condensed. It was a golden dragon that was billions of miles long. At the same time, it looked as if it was cast in gold, exuding an immortal luster. It had 19 dragon claws and 2 horns on its head. Its aura was unfathomable, and it let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. Roar! The dragon roar resounded through the world, causing the sky above the Eldritch continent to change and chaos to surge. The ancestral dragon of destiny had appeared. This was Faith's soaring heavens, the ancestral dragon of destiny formed from the power of faith of billions of living beings and the endless power of destiny. The ancestral dragon of destiny, which was originally somewhat illusory, became extremely solid at this moment, as if the archaic ancestral dragon had come back to life, exuding an insufferably terrifying aura. Boom! The ancestral dragon of destiny's body was billions of miles long, as if it contained endless power. Its huge dragon tail suddenly swept out, and instantly, an earth-shattering terrifying aura suppressed down. The face of the Emperor of Faith changed. The terrifying power around him seemed to have surpassed the limits of a great emperor, causing him to feel immense pressure. He suddenly punched out. Kacha! The endless chaotic void instantly exploded, and the scene of the beginning of the ancient times reappeared. The terrifying scene made everyone's heart palpitate. The Emperor of Faith was sent flying by the ancestral dragon of destiny. You only woke up by stealing my power. What qualifications do you have to make me submit? The ancestral dragon of destiny spoke in human language calmly. It was Faith soaring heavens. Faith soaring heavens and the ancestral dragon of destiny merged into one, erupting with earth-shattering power. Its strength was terrifying to the extreme. Boom! 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 Above the 9 heavens, the ancestral dragon of destiny swept across the void, continuously attacking the Emperor of Faith. The surrounding dragon roars shook the heavens, as if billions of divine dragons were born, enveloping the Emperor of Faith and killing him. Kill! The Emperor of Faith roared, his eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. In his view, Faith soaring heavens was just an ant that had just touched the great Tao of Faith and was about to become an emperor. Such an ant was the stepping stone that would allow him to completely recover and become invincible throughout the ages. But now, such an ant was actually a threat to him. The blazing light of faith rose around him, and his entire body was like a lightning bolt, pouncing towards Faith soaring heavens. Each of his attacks contained earth-shattering power, and the dazzling light could penetrate everything. The saber and sword chi surged like a waterfall, burying Faith soaring heavens. So what if you've turned into the ancestral dragon of destiny? You're still going to die. The Emperor of Faith roared, but his eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. He wouldn't be able to condense the ancestral dragon of destiny. The conditions to condense the ancestral dragon of destiny were too harsh. In addition to collecting a huge amount of faith power, it also had to fuse with the destiny of a race. The human race was the ruler of this era. Now, almost all the living beings of the human race believed in soaring heavens, and there were statues of soaring heavens everywhere. Only when the endless faith power fused with the destiny of the human race could the ancestral dragon of destiny be formed, which could suppress everything and be invincible. Just now, Faith soaring heavens knew that the Emperor of Faith was stealing his power, so he allowed the Emperor of Faith to destroy his body and fuse with the ancestral dragon of destiny, erupting with earth-shattering power. Roar. The dragon roar shook the sky. The battle between Faith soaring heavens and the Emperor of Faith was extremely fierce, and it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. If it wasn't for the Supreme Emperor formation of soaring heavens and the protection of soaring heavens, the battle between the two supreme experts would have destroyed the entire soaring heavens imperial court. Is that so? Do you really think you'll be safe after stealing my power? Faith soaring heavens said with a faint smile. Rumble. The ancestral dragon of destiny moved unhindered across the void, emitting blazing light. It was like a fire of destiny, enveloping the Emperor of Faith in it. What? The Emperor of Faith's expression changed slightly. Boom. Inside his body, the fire of providence burned and surged violently, enveloping his entire body. The boundless power of providence gathered around him as if it was an endless source of fuel. The fire of providence within the great Emperor of Faith burned endlessly, and there was no way to extinguish it. Damn it! How dare you scheme against me? The Emperor of Faith's expression suddenly changed, staring at Faith soaring heavens with chilling killing intent. It's not a scheme. Since you want to steal my power and occupy my body, I can only fight back, right? Faith soaring heavens said with a faint smile. His eyes flickered with flickering light. It was a kind of wisdom that took every conceivable possibility into account, as if everything in the world was under his control. Even if the Emperor of Faith appeared, it would still be the same. Boom! A dazzling beam of light shot out of the ancestral dragon of destiny's mouth, piercing through the void with extreme speed and piercing the Emperor of Faith's body. The Emperor of Faith's body trembled violently, and in the end, it collapsed with a loud bang. The fire of destiny burned fiercely, containing the chanting of the ancient ancestors, intertwined with the power of the great Tao, and the vast and unparalleled power of heaven and earth. This was the destiny of the human race, the will of the human race, and the invincible determination of the human race. The fire of destiny condensed by the human race was endless and inextinguishable. Unless the human race was annihilated in an instant, the Emperor of Faith would never be able to extinguish this fire of destiny. Rumble. The power he stole from Faith Ling Zhao's body was quickly burned into nothingness. Only an illusory figure was left in the void. It looked like a skinny old man with a pointy mouth and monkey-like cheeks. He was incomparably ugly. His eyes were filled with malice and resentment. He was staring at Faith Ling Zhao, full of unwillingness and anger. This is the Emperor of Faith. Everyone was stunned, and a strange look appeared in their eyes. This Emperor of Faith had left behind endless legends in the ancient era, but who would have thought that his original body was just an ugly monkey? Such a person proved his Tao with the great Tao of Faith and became the Emperor of Faith? Very well. This Emperor will remember you. Today's humiliation, I will repay you generously in the future. You can't kill me, as long as there are people in the universe who contribute the power of faith, you can't kill me. But you can't prove your Tao with the power of faith. One day, I will kill you. The great Emperor of Faith roared, his eyes filled with resentment. A mysterious bead floated above his head, intertwined with 9 colors of light, protecting his true spirit. Even the surrounding fire of destiny couldn't hurt him. He glared at Faith's soaring heavens, and the bead rolled up his true spirit, instantly disappearing from the sky above the heavenly court. Want to leave? Not so fast. Faith's soaring heavens smiled indifferently, as if he wasn't surprised at all. With a wave of his hand, flames of fate and the power of faith intertwined, turning into a mysterious rune in the void. Like a prison, it imprinted itself on the bead in an instant. Boom! The bead trembled slightly, as if some kind of mark was left on it, and then the Emperor of Faith's exasperated voice came. Damn it! Boy, you're dead, this Emperor won't let you go. The Emperor of Faith seemed to have suffered a loss, but he didn't dare to stay for a moment, and instantly disappeared from the sky. The Emperor of Faith ran away just like that. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. At this moment, Faith's soaring heavens and Faith's soaring heavens looked at each other, and at the same time, leaped into the sky and chased after the Emperor of Faith. With the mark left by Faith's soaring heavens, the Emperor of Faith really couldn't escape this time. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 3349. The great Emperor of Faith was extremely fast. He shifted the void and fled into the depths of the chaos. However, Firmaments was riding the white dragon horse. The white dragon horse possessed the fastest speed in the world. Even great emperors of the great Tao of displacement weren't as fast as it. As for Faith's soaring Shao, it followed the imprint on the great emperor's body. Together with soaring Shao, it firmly followed behind the great emperor. The great Emperor of Faith's expression grew more and more unsightly. He was caught in a dilemma. He cultivated the great Tao of Faith and had lived 8 lifetimes since ancient times. As long as the power of faith existed in the myriad worlds, he was immortal. However, if he was in the myriad worlds, he would be easily captured by firmaments and firmaments. However, escaping into chaos made his perception of the power of faith weaker and weaker. If this continued, he would really die if he was killed again without any power of faith to replenish himself. Whoosh! The great Emperor of Faith's true soul landed on a dead star surrounded by chaos mist. He looked back at firmaments and stopped running. What? Are you going to surrender without a fight? Firmaments stared at the great Emperor of Faith and said indifferently. Don't be so smug, kid. We both cultivate the great Tao of Faith. My strength is greatly reduced in the chaos, and so is yours. If you continue to push me, don't blame this great Emperor for perishing together with you. The great Emperor of Faith glared at Firmaments, his eyes full of grievance. The mark on his body was a unique method of firmaments. It fused the power of faith and destiny. Even the great Emperor of Faith couldn't remove it in a short time. Being chased by firmaments like this infuriated him greatly. Ahem. Great Emperor of Faith, did you forget about me? If I attack, you will die without a doubt. Firmaments coughed softly and looked somewhat helplessly at the great Emperor of Faith. Firmaments flashed in Firmament's palms. The wordless heavenly scripture, the fortune jade disc, and the primordial bead floated out and intertwined into mysterious divine chains of order that shrouded the dead star in front of them. These divine chains of order were formed from the laws of heavenly Tao and Firmament's sovereign power. They contained a mysterious power that completely sealed off the dead star. All right. Now, you can't escape even if you want to. Ling Xiao smiled at the great Emperor of Conviction. The great Emperor of Faith's face stiffened. Feeling the powerful sealing power around the Death Star and the terrifying killing intent, his face became extremely unsightly and filled with disbelief. Chaos. Chaos treasure. Who are you? He actually has 3 chaos treasures. The great Emperor of Faith raised his head and looked at Ling Xiao. This was the first time he looked Ling Xiao in the eye. In fact, belief the great Emperor only cared about belief Ling Xiao. He didn't care about anyone else, including Ling Xiao. Even when Faith High Firmament and Faith High Firmament chased after him, Faith Great Emperor didn't care. He did not think that a mere monarch could pose any threat to him. Now that the 3 chaos treasures had appeared, the Emperor of Faith felt a strong sense of threat from Ling Xiao. He had no choice but to take Ling Xiao seriously. I'm Ling Xiao. Perhaps you haven't heard of me. But you must know the secret of transcendence, and the secret of transcendence is in my hands. Ling Xiao said with a smile. The secret of transcendence? The great Emperor of Faith's body trembled. His eyes revealed a trace of greed and shock. After living for so long, he naturally knew about the secret of transcendence. This was a secret that countless great emperors and supreme powerhouses yearned to obtain. It was related to whether one could truly transcend this world. Seeing Ling Xiao speak of this matter so casually, the great Emperor of Faith's heart sank. He was afraid that he had really kicked an iron plate today. The secret of transcendence? Ha ha ha. I've worn out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Do you really think that you can kill this great emperor? The great Emperor of Faith suddenly laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. Oh. Could it be that you have helpers? Ling Xiao asked with interest. That's right. Today, you will die without a doubt. The great Emperor of Faith sneered. Asterisk buzz. Asterisk a dazzling rune bloomed in his palm. In an instant, it spread in all directions. A powerful spatial fluctuation erupted. 2 incomparably powerful auras appeared in the void. They were 2 middle-aged men with dignified faces. Their eyes were cold, and their bodies were filled with killing intent. They were like 2 ghost Tao emperors, releasing an incomparably powerful great emperor's aura. 2 martial monarchs had shown up. Faith, why did you summon us? A deep and cold voice exploded in the void. Chu Jiang, Tai Shan, you've come at the right time. This kid is called Ling Xiao. He has the secret of transcendence. Come with me and kill him. We'll share the secret of transcendence. What do you think? The great Emperor of Faith stared at the 2 great emperors in front of him and said with a smile. The ghost race had 10 great emperors who had once become the epoch lord in the ancient times. Although there were only 2 or 3 great emperors left in the ghost race, they were incomparably powerful. No other race dared to provoke them. Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan were 2 of them. They owed the Great Emperor of Faith a favor, so they came as soon as the Great Emperor of Faith summoned them. They were the backup plan left behind by the Great Emperor of Faith. Ling Xiao. The secret of transcendence? Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan looked at Ling Xiao with flickering eyes. Two epic great emperors of the ghost race. Do you want to be my enemy too? Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. There was a hint of sharpness in his eyes. He could sense that Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan were emitting an eerie ghostly aura. They were extremely powerful. It was obvious that they had passed the epic calamity. He did not expect them to show up here. However, the great Tao origin in Ling Xiao's body had merged. He was close to the great perfection realm. He was only one step away from completely transcending. He also wanted to see how strong he was now. Perhaps the great embankment of Chu River and the great emperor of Mount Tai were two decent opponents. It's Ling Xiao indeed. Sorry to disturb you. Goodbye. Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan looked at each other and nodded slightly at Ling Xiao. Then they turned around and teleported away. Great Emperor Faith was stunned. How could he have imagined that Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan would leave without even attacking Ling Xiao? You bastards, come back here. Kill him. Kill Ling Xiao. Don't you want the secret of transcendence? Great Emperor Faith was trembling with rage. His eyes were filled with extreme fury. Even Ling Xiao did not expect Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan to leave just like that. A strange expression appeared in his eyes. Perhaps, they retreated in the face of difficulties after learning of your achievements. Faith, Ling Xiao slowly said. Great Emperor Faith, although the secret of transcendence is good, your life is more important. Since we're friends, I'll give you a piece of advice. Don't resist. Kneel down and beg for Ling Xiao's forgiveness. Perhaps you can keep your life. Great Emperor Chu Jiang's indifferent voice sounded. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them disappeared from the chaotic void. Don't resist. Kneel down and beg for forgiveness. Bastards. You two cowards. Great Emperor Faith was about to go mad. He did not expect Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan to be so afraid of Ling Xiao. They did not even attack and just fled. How shameful. These two guys were great emperors of an era. What kind of great emperor was that? Great Emperor Faith, your helpers have left. Now, what else do you have? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Ling Xiao, don't be so arrogant. Great Emperor Chu Jiang and Great Emperor Tai Shan may be afraid of you, but I'm not. Even if I have to fight to the death today, I won't hurt a single hair on your head. Great Emperor Faith stared at Ling Xiao and said righteously. There was no fear in his eyes. Plop. In the next moment, his legs went soft and he knelt in front of Ling Xiao. Spare my life, my lord. Lord Ling Xiao, I failed to recognize Great Emperor Tai Shan. Please spare my life. I'm willing to do anything for you. I won't go back on my word. Please spare my life. The Great Emperor of Faith cried and begged for mercy. Tears and snot dripped down his face as he looked at Ling Xiao with a fawning expression. Ling Xiao, Great Emperor Faith, White Dragon Horse, Ling Xiao felt his brain short-circuit. Was this guy with a pointy mouth and monkey-like cheeks who knelt down and begged for mercy really the legendary Great Emperor Faith? Weren't great emperors supposed to be high and mighty, looking down on all living beings? Weren't they supposed to be invincible? Even if they died, they would die a glorious death. Great Emperor Faith's face stiffened. Even someone as wise as him didn't expect the Great Emperor of Faith to do such a thing. Originally, he wanted to kill the Great Emperor of Faith in one fell swoop, but what should he do now? Shameless. Shameless. Motherfucker, how dare you call yourself a great emperor? Don't embarrass Great Emperor Faith. You might as well die like this. The White Dragon Horse shook its head and looked at the Great Emperor of Faith with a look of disgust. Shameless? What's the use of being shameless? Staying alive is the most important thing. Aren't you afraid of death? I still need to keep my body useful. Only then will I have the chance to see the supreme transcendent realm. Now, Lord Ling Xiao is very powerful and is about to transcend. Even the two great emperors of the ghost race were scared away. Naturally, I'm no match for Lord Ling Xiao. Surrendering and begging for mercy is a sign of understanding the situation. You're still too young to understand. Great Emperor Faith didn't have a trace of anger. Instead, he smiled proudly at White Dragon Horse. Motherfucker, you can do that? White Dragon Horse was stunned. Looking at Great Emperor Faith's shameless appearance, White Dragon Horse suddenly smelled a trace of its own kind. A sense of crisis arose in its heart. This guy is even more shameless than me. If he really defected to Ling Xiao, where will my position be in the future? Ling Xiao, this guy has a pointy mouth and monkey-like cheeks. He's not a good person. I think he's just trying to stall for time by kneeling and surrendering. It's better to kill him to prevent future troubles. Otherwise, if he bites back, I'm afraid it'll cause a disaster. The White Dragon Horse said righteously. Bites back. I, Great Emperor Faith, am afraid of death, but I still have integrity. I've defected to Lord Ling Xiao. Naturally, I'll be loyal and will never betray him. You're looking down on me. Lord Ling Xiao, this is my undying true spirit. It represents my sincerity. Great Emperor Faith smiled proudly. Then, light bloomed from his body. A ball of light separated and he threw it to Ling Xiao without hesitation. In that ball of light, there was an illusory little monkey. Although it looked very wretched, it contained an undying aura. It was indeed the Great Emperor Faith's undying true spirit. He offered his undying true spirit. In other words, he offered his life to Ling Xiao. Once Ling Xiao obtained the undying true spirit, he could completely erase him with just a thought. You can do that. White Dragon Horse was also stunned. A great emperor was actually willing to offer his undying true spirit. Perhaps in the entire Eldritch continent, only the Great Emperor Faith was willing to do so. Ling Xiao did not immediately accept the Great Emperor Faith's undying true spirit. Instead, his gaze fell on Ling Xiao. What do you think? Ling Xiao smiled indifferently and said, accept it. Although he's a little cowardly, he's still a great emperor. It should be of some use. Moreover, my Tao isn't the great Tao of faith. I don't need to kill him to prove my Tao. This tribulation is just me trying to lure him out. Good. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He reached out and grabbed the ball of light, then merged it into his sea of consciousness. Greetings, Master. Great Emperor Faith did not have the slightest hesitation or unwillingness. Instead, he let out a long sigh of relief and then knelt down in front of Ling Xiao in joy. Ling Xiao had accepted his indestructible true spirit, which meant that his life was temporarily safe. He was afraid that Ling Xiao would not accept his undying true spirit and insisted on killing him. Master, this Great Emperor Faith is actually comprehending the Tao of fortune. Faith is limited, but fortune is endless. As long as the Eldritch continent is still evolving, fortune will not dissipate. This Great Emperor Faith is eternal. The Great Tao of Fortune is much stronger than the Great Tao of Faith. Great Emperor Faith explained to Ling Xiao. That's right. Ling Xiao, I will find a place to cultivate and then pass my tribulation of fortune. I'll leave the heavenly court to you for the time being. The power of faith in the heavenly court can help him condense the great emperor body. Faith, Ling Xiao said with an indifferent smile. All right. Ling Xiao nodded and said. Little monkey, what's your name? How dare you claim to be Great Emperor Faith in front of Master Ling Xiao? Are you courting death? White Dragon Horse stared at Great Emperor Faith and asked unhappily. Mixed-haired horse, grandfather's name is Yuan Qitian. If you don't want to call me Great Emperor Faith, you can call me Grandfather Qitian. I have no objections. Great Emperor Faith glanced at White Dragon Horse and said. What a joke, I'm the one who surrendered to Master Ling Xiao. How dare a mere mixed-haired horse act like a tyrant on my head? Bastard, I'm your grandfather. White Dragon Horse was furious and its eyes were filled with hostility. Oh, mixed-haired horse, you're not convinced? Why don't we have a fight? Whoever wins will be my grandfather. How about that? Yuan Qitian sneered and said. You think I'm afraid of you? I'll beat you until your father doesn't recognize you. White Dragon Horse said, unwilling to be outdone. Cut the crap. Now that we're back in the heavenly court, I have a feeling that I'm not far from the final step. Ling Xiao stopped the two fellows and said slowly with a strange light in his eyes. Final step. Transcendence. White Dragon Horse and Yuan Qitian looked at each other and their eyes lit up. The Peak. Chapter 3350. Master, I don't think it's time for you to transcend. Yuan Qitian thought for a while and said seriously. Oh. Why? Ling Xiao glanced at Yuan Qitian and said. Master, if I'm not wrong, the secret of transcendence that you've obtained should be a cultivation skill or treasure left behind by the previous generation of transcendence. Perhaps it's the method to combine all Daos into one. Yuan Qitian said. How do you know? Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. Master, there's no secret about transcendence. At least for the great emperors who have lived since the ancient times, they all know how to transcend. However, there's almost no one who can truly transcend since ancient times. Yuan Qitian said with a wry smile. They know about the secret of transcendence. How is that possible? The White Dragon Horse said in surprise. Nothing is impossible. Do you know what transcendence is? Yuan Qitian asked the White Dragon Horse. Transcendence? Transcendence is to break free from the shackles of the great way of heaven and earth, to break free from the shackles of life and become eternal, immortal and indestructible. The White Dragon Horse smiled proudly. What you said can't be considered wrong. Transcendence is indeed to break free from the shackles of the great way of heaven and earth. However, you may not know that there are 3,000 great ways. Even a great emperor can only choose one way to attain it. It's essentially compatible with the great way. However, how difficult is it to transcend the 3,000 great ways? Yuan Qitian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Therefore, there are only two ways to transcend. The other way is to use one great way as the foundation after attaining the great way and gradually comprehend the origins of 3,000 great ways. Finally, one can split into 3,000 and transcend the great way of heaven and earth. However, this way of transcendence is too difficult and takes a long time. Think about it, it's already so difficult for a great emperor to attain one great way. How difficult would it be to comprehend 3,000 great ways? Since the first era, I've never heard of anyone who could completely transcend using this way of transcendence. Split into 3,000? If that's the case, it's not that there's no other way after attaining the great way of heaven and earth. It's just that this way of transcendence is too difficult for ordinary people. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. That's right. Only a peak great emperor could fully grasp a great Tao. The epoch great emperor had only comprehended a few great Daos. How difficult would it be to comprehend 3,000 great Daos? Therefore, the second path of transcendence was the path of 10,000 Daos as one. When one gathered the 3,000 great Tao origins and became a martial monarch, they would reach a higher level and comprehend the 3,000 great Tao origins in one go. They would become a true transcendent being and be invincible in the world. However, it was even more difficult to combine all Daos into one. There was a limit to human strength, but the power of heaven and earth was limitless. Being able to comprehend a single grand Tao quintessence was already the fortune of the heavens, and accommodating 3,000 grand Tao quintessences by himself wasn't something an ordinary person could accomplish at all. Therefore, this was also a kind of dead end. Since ancient times, no one had ever done it. Master, you are walking the path of the unification of all Daos. However, if my guess is correct, Master was able to embark on the path of 10,000 Daos as one not because of Master's peerless talent and heaven-defying aptitude. I'm afraid that many people have plotted behind Master's back, and all kinds of opportunities and fortunes have created Master today. Yuan Qitian looked at Ling Xiao and said seriously. That's not wrong. Ling Xiao said flatly. With his current level of cultivation, how could he not know that there were some people secretly plotting against him? His rebirth, his obtaining of the wordless heavenly book, his becoming the chosen one, and even his obtaining of the secret of transcendence, were all deliberately arranged by someone behind him. The purpose was to create an invincible transcendent being, a person who had truly embarked on the path of the unification of all Daos. The weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book, the four great emperors, Hun Dun, Destiny, Karma, and Reincarnation, and even the Scarlet Dragon War God, who Ling Xiao thought was long dead, had left some traces behind. It's good that Master understands. Therefore, Master is now under the eyes of everyone. I'm afraid those people behind the scenes are all watching Master. Once Master has truly transcended, how could those people allow Master to be out of their control? I'm afraid that at that time, the people behind the scenes will appear and reap the fruits of their labor. That's why I said that it's not the best time for Master to take that final step. Yuan Qitian said with a wry smile. He was already tied to Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao died, he would also die without a burial place. Therefore, he told Ling Xiao many secrets truthfully. Speaking of which, Yuan Qitian was considered a great emperor who had attained Tao during the Antiquity Age. He knew many secrets hidden under the fog of history. Ling Xiao had made the right choice by not killing him. If it's as you said, I'm already being watched by those people behind the scenes. Regardless of which step I take now or which step I take in the future, what's the difference? Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. His eyes were extremely calm, as if there was no fear at all. At least you can accumulate strength and find helpers. You'll be more confident in surviving that tribulation, although I also think that the chances are slim. Yuan Qitian said with a wry smile. There was a trace of sadness in his eyes. Acknowledging Ling Xiao as his master was a delaying tactic. However, he now realized that acknowledging Ling Xiao as his master was just delaying his death by a little. Even the white dragon horse was shocked when it heard this. He originally thought that Ling Xiao's strength was heaven-defying and his talent was invincible. After taking that final step, he would be invincible and become a true great emperor. However, who would have thought that there were so many dangers behind the scenes? Are those people behind the scenes really that strong? The white dragon horse asked. Very strong. Yuan Qitian said seriously. The strongest among them should be the four sovereigns of chaos, destiny, karma, and reincarnation. When the four of them were mentioned, there was a trace of deep fear in Yuan Qitian's eyes. The four of them? They don't seem to be that strong. Even the chaotic emperor's doppelganger was killed by Ling Xiao. How strong can his real body be? The white dragon horse asked doubtfully. Doppelganger? I'm afraid that's not even a trace of his imprint. If his real body is here, Master will be dead for sure. You have no idea how strong the four sovereigns are. Yuan Qitian said with a wry smile. How strong can they be? They're just great emperors of the epoch. Are they transcendents? The white dragon horse said with a cold smile. They're not transcendents. However, their strength is not weaker than a transcendent. The four sovereigns were peerless experts of the first epoch. You may not know this, but the first epoch was extremely glorious. Countless great emperors fought for supremacy and the strongest gathered together. Such rare great emperors could be seen everywhere. That was the true meaning of great emperors being inferior to dogs. There would be great emperors fighting every day. It was the first epoch that broke the Eldritch continent into countless pieces and formed the myriad worlds. Countless great emperors fell. Even the powerful celestial race, immortal race, demon race, and demon race lost countless experts. It could be said that almost all the great emperors of the first epoch were killed in that war, except for the four great emperors of chaos, destiny, karma, and reincarnation. They lived from the first epoch to the 108th epoch. Do you need me to tell you how strong they are? Yuan Qitian said solemnly. All the great emperors are dead. Only the four of them are still alive. The white dragon horse trembled and its eyes were filled with disbelief. That's right. I just said that the first path to transcendence is to split one into 3,000. That is the path they took. How many great Daos do you think they have comprehended in the 108th epoch? Yuan Qitian said. The white dragon horse thought for a moment and couldn't help but gasp. 108 epochs was such a long time and endless time. Even if the four of them had transcended, it wasn't impossible, right? No wonder the four of them were called the four sovereigns. Great emperors who had just attained their Tao were like children in front of the four of them. In addition to the four sovereigns, there are also the weapon spirits of the 10 ultimate chaos treasures. The weapon spirits of the 10 ultimate chaos treasures were separated from the ultimate chaos treasures during the Battle of Emperor's Fall. Some merged with their original bodies later on, such as the Longevity Tower. Most of them, like the textless Heavenly Book, completely broke free of its shackles. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them great emperors. Moreover, the textless Heavenly Book was the leader of the 10 ultimate chaos treasures. The weapon spirit of the textless Heavenly Book didn't have a lifespan limit. Its strength was probably not much weaker than the four sovereigns. Even the other weapon spirits had the fighting power of a great emperor. Not to mention, there were other great emperors who had survived since the ancient era. They also coveted Master and wouldn't miss out on this opportunity. Therefore, on the surface, it might seem like Master is just about to attain his Tao, but I'm afraid he's about to trigger an immeasurable calamity and the most terrifying battle between great emperors. Yuan Qitian said with a hint of fear in his eyes. There's still something I don't understand. If the four sovereigns are about to transcend or have already transcended, why are they still plotting against Ling Xiao? What good will it do them if Ling Xiao takes the final step? The white dragon horse asked. This was also the biggest doubt in Ling Xiao's mind. Good question. When Master takes the final step and combines all Daos into one, he'll attain his Tao and become a great emperor. At that time, Master's body will nurture a myriad Tao golden core with the power of 3,000 Tao origins. Once he swallows the myriad Tao golden core, he'll become a true transcendent. The myriad Tao golden core is the most heaven-defying fortune in Master's body. It's very likely that the four sovereigns haven't transcended. Whoever obtains the myriad Tao golden core will naturally be able to suppress the others and become a true invincible. Needless to say, the weapon spirit of the chaotic treasure and the other great emperors are also determined to obtain the myriad Tao golden core. Even though they know it's extremely dangerous and might even lose their lives for it, they're willing to do anything for the sake of transcending. Yuan Qitian said slowly. Hiss. Directly create a transcendent? That's terrifying. The white dragon horse sucked in a breath of cold air, its eyes filled with disbelief. I've already told you all the pros and cons. As for the choice, it's up to you, Master. Yuan Qitian looked at Ling Xiao seriously. They had already left the chaotic void, arrived at the Eldritch continent, and returned to the heavenly court in the human territory. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with uncertainty as he looked at the sea of clouds and surging spiritual qi below. The entire heavenly court was exuding a vast amount of qi and power of faith, as well as the powerful human experts who were exuding powerful vitality. He had already fallen into the trap. But how could he break out of it? Chapter 3351. Rumble. In the sky above the Lingxiao Sky Imperial Court, there were thousands of streaks of light and divine chains of order intertwined. The divine sound of the Great Path was evolving, creating all kinds of mysterious scenes. A mysterious figure was sitting cross-legged on a golden lotus seat. Vast power of faith surged from all around and merged into his body. A powerful emperor's aura spread out, and the figure exuded an immortal and mysterious aura. Ha ha ha! Awesome! Yuan Qitian roared excitedly and his eyes were filled with excitement. Although the power of faith in Lingxiao was not the great path of faith, it had previously collected countless power of faith. It was extremely pure and fanatical. It had easily condensed an immortal emperor body for Yuan Qitian. Yuan Qitian was originally in the state of true spirit. It was only after stealing the power of faith in Ling Xiao that he was able to erupt with powerful combat strength. Now that he had recondensed his physical body and it was strong and immortal, he suddenly felt a powerful and mysterious feeling in his heart. It was as if he could destroy the stars with a wave of his hand. Rumble. Rumble. Finally, hundreds of millions of thunderbolts converged and endless flames intertwined to refine Yuan Qitian's great emperor body. An incomparably powerful figure stepped out from the sea of power of faith. It was as if he could support the heavens and earth. It was a young man with an extraordinary figure and a handsome face. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Anyone who looked at him could not help but kneel down. Yuan Qitian was extremely satisfied with this body. His eyes were filled with eagerness to try it out. He looked at Ling Xiao in the distance and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Is he really going to take that step? Yuan Qitian was filled with emotions. Ling Xiao had been sitting cross-legged on the peak of the Lingxiao mountain range for 3 months. He looked as if he had passed away. There was no breath of life and he had merged with the surrounding heavens and earth. However, Yuan Qitian could feel that there was a mysterious force in Ling Xiao's body that was transforming. It was like a rising sun that contained vast and unparalleled power. Ling Xiao seemed to be floating and was about to separate from this world and ascend to a mysterious and ancient world. Yuan Qitian knew that Ling Xiao had begun to take that step. Within Ling Xiao's body, the fusion of 10,000 great paths had already begun. The origin of the 3,000 great paths gradually gathered. It was as if the mysterious starry sky was constantly collapsing. Countless stars gathered together as if they were about to condense into an eternal sun. That eternal sun could also be called the myriad Tao golden core. Once he condensed his myriad Tao golden core, he would be able to truly step onto the path of transcendence and become a supreme transcendent being. Even though Yuan Qitian had repeatedly told Ling Xiao to try his best to delay and not take that step so quickly, Ling Xiao still resolutely took that step. Although Yuan Qitian admired Ling Xiao from the bottom of his heart, he was also extremely worried. Once he took that step, those people behind the scenes would appear. At that time, it could be said that Ling Xiao would become the enemy of the entire world. How would he be able to find that slim chance of survival? It was a narrow escape. In fact, there was no chance of survival. Mongrel monkey, you're too hypocritical. His original body was originally that of a monkey, but he actually wanted to transform into such a handsome and valiant appearance. He was really deceiving himself and others. TSK TSK. The white dragon horse's words interrupted Yuan Qitian's thoughts. Lifting his head to look at the white dragon horse that was baring its teeth and laughing mockingly, Yuan Qitian was instantly enraged. Mongrel horse, what do you know? This is my original form. It's also my original form that I've kept since the ancient times. You're old and muddle-headed, what do you know? Original form? Bah! I think you've been deceiving people since the ancient times. Otherwise, how could a monkey become the emperor of faith? I won't believe it even if I beat you to death. The white dragon horse said with disdain. Mongrel horse, I think you're asking for a beating. Do you believe that I'll beat you up until your mother doesn't recognize you? Yuan Qitian said with an unfriendly look. My mother doesn't recognize me in the first place. As for you, hee, we'll see if you can catch up with me. The white dragon horse laughed arrogantly. Mongrel horse, give me your life. Yuan Qitian was enraged and instantly pounced towards the white dragon horse. Mongrel monkey, you'll lick my hooves. Ha ha ha. The white dragon horse laughed arrogantly. Then, it instantly teleported into the distance. He had the supreme ability to teleport. It was as if he had blended into the void. A mysterious aura spread around him as if he had become ethereal. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the sky. Although Yuan Qitian was the emperor of faith and his strength was heaven-defying, the white dragon horse was naturally no match for him. However, if he wanted to catch up with the white dragon horse, it wouldn't be that easy. The two of them quickly disappeared from the sky of the Lingxiao celestial court. at the peak of the Lingshao mountain range. Ling Shao sat under the ancient pine tree with a sea of faith clouds rising around him. The ancestral dragon of providence that was billions of miles long appeared and disappeared in the sea of clouds, protecting billions of humans. 3 months ago, Ling Shao had entrusted his parents, Jin Se, Shui Wei, Changsheng, and other loved ones to the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. They were taken away by the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Ling Shao was determined to take that final step. However, he didn't want his loved ones to bear any risks. Therefore, he entrusted them to the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain, whom he trusted the most. With the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's unfathomable means, he should be able to protect them. Without any worries, Ling Shao finally let go of everything and began to strive for the most mysterious supreme realm since ancient times. He still remembered the words of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain before he left. If you want to embark on the path of transcendence, you might be able to survive in the Lingshao mountain range. Ling Shao had been thinking about this sentence ever since. In the Lingshao mountain range, I will defeat all the saints and step onto the divine path. I will become the chosen one and live after death. This is my beginning. Perhaps it's also my end. Or perhaps, the senior of Kunwu Mountain wants me to use the terrain here to fight against the enemies. Ling Shao thought to himself. Fighting to rise from the jaws of death, could it be? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Currently, the fusion of the 3,000 origins of the Great Path in his body was still 99% complete. It seemed that no matter what, he couldn't complete the final fusion. However, if Ling Xiao forcefully activated the 3,000 origins of the Great Path and completed the final fusion, it wasn't impossible. It was just that there was an 80% to 90% chance of failure. This last bit was like a natural chasm between him and transcendence. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's words were full of deep meaning, and it made Ling Xiao ponder a lot. No matter what, I have no way out. If I don't succeed in this battle, I will be crushed to pieces. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of bright sharpness. Boom! Blazing divine light rose around him like a vast sun, radiating endless light and heat. Vast original source power swept through the void like divine chains of order, sealing off this part of the world. The aura that Ling Xiao exuded was like a hurricane, instantly enveloping the entire Eldritch continent. Many supreme experts raised their heads at the same time, and their eyes were filled with shock and uncertainty. What's going on? Could it be that someone is going to prove their Tao and become an emperor? Such a terrifying aura can actually envelop the entire Eldritch continent. I'm afraid that even if someone proves their Tao and becomes an emperor, it's impossible to have such a powerful aura, right? I don't know. The aura seems to be coming from the human territory. The human territory? Could it be that Ling Xiao is going to prove his Tao and become an emperor? The crowd shuddered, and each of them was filled with disbelief. However, they understood that if Ling Xiao were to prove his Tao and become an emperor, such a terrifying aura would be acceptable. After all, Ling Xiao was a peerless genius who had slain a few emperors before he proved his Tao and became an emperor. Such a genius could be considered the first in history. If he were to prove his Tao and become an emperor, the emperor tribulation that he would face would be extremely terrifying. It was not impossible for it to attract the attention of the entire Eldritch continent. This isn't proving his Tao and becoming an emperor. Is Ling Xiao about to transcend? An old and bewildered voice sounded. Rumble. An incomparably vast emperor aura was emitted from the void. It was ancient and mysterious. An old man with a youthful face and white hair appeared above the 9 heavens. He held a peachwood staff in his hand, and his white robe fluttered in the wind, emitting an otherworldly aura. It's the Prophet Martial Emperor. I didn't expect the Prophet Martial Emperor to be awake too. He must be right about Ling Xiao transcending. Someone recognized the old man's identity. The ancient epic emperor had lived for countless epochs. Although he was not very powerful, he was proficient in divination and was respected as a prophet. The Prophet Martial Emperor was kind to others, so he had not been affected by the great calamities of the epoch, allowing him to survive unscathed. No one knew exactly how many epochs the Prophet Martial Emperor had lived for. Everyone bowed respectfully to him and asked him about it. Ling Xiao is walking the path of 10,000 Daos as one. This path has been called the path of despair since ancient times, and it is also known as the greatest path of transcendence. Now, he has reached the final step and is about to transcend. He will reign supreme and be invincible in the world. The prophet martial emperor sighed softly, and his eyes were filled with emotions. Reign supreme and be invincible in the world? Hiss. Can Ling Xiao really succeed on such a heaven-defying path? Everyone was in disbelief and shock. They all knew that transcendence was the highest Tao that countless emperors pursued tirelessly. Legend had it that it was the ultimate state of being immortal and indestructible. It represented invincibility, immortality, mystery, power, and everything else. Since ancient times, no one had ever heard of anyone who could transcend. They did not expect Ling Xiao to have already reached this step. Was he about to transcend the great Tao and become truly invincible in the world? This step is very difficult. It is also a life and death calamity. If he can pass it, Ling Xiao will be the Chaos Lord in the future. If he can't pass it, everything will be over. The prophet martial emperor shook his head. Ling Xiao is going to transcend so openly in the human territory. Isn't he afraid that someone will interfere with him? No matter what, this is a grand occasion for the Chaos Continent. Quickly head to the human territory and witness Emperor Ling Xiao's transcendence. Let's go. Everyone was eager to make a move, and their eyes flickered with flickering light. Some of them hoped to witness this great moment, while others were purely there to watch the show. Of course, there were also those who wanted to take advantage of the situation. Everyone had different thoughts in their minds. The mysterious and terrifying aura emanating from the untainted continent made countless experts of the untainted continent leap up and rush towards the human tribe's territory. No matter how you look at it, this is a calamity of certain death. There are no accidents. Why did Ling Xiao choose to transcend at this moment? The prophet martial emperor sighed softly, and his eyes flickered with uncertainty. He tapped the peachwood staff in his hand, and the void trembled slightly. A powerful spatial fluctuation spread out, and he disappeared into the void, heading toward the human territory. At the peak of the Ling Xiao mountain range, Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by dazzling light, exuding an eternal and immortal fluctuation. His aura was ethereal and mysterious, and his white hair and clothes fluttered. It felt like he was about to break through the void. In his body, the great Tao's starry sky had been compressed to the extreme. Divine chains of order intertwined, and a vast light rose. At this moment, it was enveloped by a mysterious chaotic flame as if it was being refined. In the great Tao's starry sky, 3,000 great Tao origins gradually merged and were enveloped by the chaotic flame as if it was condensing into a mysterious golden core. It was the myriad Tao golden core. Once the myriad Tao golden core was condensed, Ling Xiao could truly transcend. The chaotic flame was Ling Xiao's fire of life, fire of destiny, and fire of destiny. In other words, he was burning himself to ascend to the extreme and take the final step. Rumble. Endless flames rose and shrouded Ling Xiao within. A mysterious and ancient aura emanated from Ling Xiao's body. It was as if it was going to transcend all Taos, transcend all living beings, and transcend everything. At the same time, heaven and earth shook. Chapter 33:52. With heaven and earth as the furnace, creation as the workmanship, yin and yang as the charcoal, and all things as the copper. With life as the fire, he wanted to refine the myriad Tao origin and take the final step of transcendence. He wanted to achieve transcendence and prove his immortality. Ling Xiao's step was to advance and not retreat. If he did not live, he would die. He would either form the myriad Tao golden core or his soul would be destroyed and he would die without a burial place. Rumble. Ling Xiao's immortal and powerful physical body contained a vast amount of life origin. At this moment, it surged and turned into the fire of life. It burned fiercely and started to refine the myriad Tao origin in his body. Under the effect of the life-reversing skill, 99% of the myriad Tao origin had been integrated. He only needed the last bit to form the myriad Tao golden core. However, the last step was extremely difficult and it required one to pay the price with one's life. Ling Xiao burned everything. The endless fire of life surged and started to refine the myriad Tao origin. Gradually, it bloomed with a dazzling light. The aura of transcendence spread out and covered the entire Eldritch continent. The mysterious aura made all the living beings in the Eldritch continent tremble and their hearts palpitate. Their eyes were filled with panic. It was as if some kind of eldritch beast was about to be born. In the sky above Ling Xiao mountain range, flames filled the sky. Ling Xiao endured the pain of being burned by the flames, but his face was extremely calm. He looked at the sky calmly without any fluctuation. It was as if a golden sun was about to form in Ling Xiao's body. Outside his body, 3,000 divine chains of order were intertwined and merged with heaven and earth. Boundless heavenly might spread out. Crack! At the same time, a chaotic thunderbolt exploded in the sky. Vaguely, it seemed as if a chaotic sea had appeared. An old man with white hair and beard stepped out from it. He was dressed in hemp clothes and was tall. His face was old but his eyes were filled with vicissitudes and wisdom. It was as if they contained the fluctuations of time. In an instant, he appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, you have disappointed me. The old man looked at Ling Xiao and sighed softly. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Old man Tiandao. I didn't expect you to be the first to appear. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. The linen-clothed old man in front of him was the old man Tiandao that he had seen in the Chosen One. He was known as the embodiment of Tiandao. Ling Xiao was not surprised by old man Tiandao's appearance. Ling Xiao, you possess the fortune of the heavenly Tao, and are known as the Chosen One. You are the one that I've chosen. I initially thought that you would be able to achieve the martial monarch realm and defeat the 10,000 tribes to gather the fortune of the 10,000 tribes to complete the heavenly Tao for me. I didn't expect that you'd actually walk onto an evil path. Old man Tian glared at Ling Xiao and said with a look of resentment. The path of transcendence is actually called the path of evil by you? Ling Xiao muttered to himself softly with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Ling Xiao, putting aside the fact that the unification of all Daos is actually stealing the authority of the heavenly Tao, even if you can really unify all Daos, will you be able to transcend? That's not true at all. It's just a lie. If you persist in going about things the wrong way, you'll be consigned to eternal damnation. Stop and come with me. I will help you to become a monarch and become the master of this calamity. You will be invincible. Old man Tian said seriously. Should I call you Old man Tian? Or should I call you the Flowing Time Emperor? Ling Xiao said indifferently with a hint of sharpness in his eyes. Flowing Time Emperor. He has already fallen. You actually mistook me for him. A strange glint flashed across old man Tian's eyes as he said indifferently. Stop pretending. Flowing Time Emperor, although I don't know how you survived from the primordial age, you must have stolen a portion of the heavenly Tao's power, right? The heavenly Tao has already fallen into a deep slumber. Before it is completely repaired, where would the heavenly Tao's incarnation come from? You were able to repair the time compass, intercept the Flowing Time Emperor's time extermination finger, and even gave me a trace of Hong Meng purple vapor. Do you really think I'm a fool? If you want to steal my myriad Tao golden core, just say it. Why do you have to be so secretive? Ling Xiao stared at old man Tian and said indifferently. Old man Tian's eyes flashed and then he smiled faintly. That's right. As expected of Ling Xiao. You've seen through me. I'm sure you know your current situation. Why don't you give me the myriad Tao golden core and I'll save your life? Old man Tian sized Ling Xiao up for a moment. The light around him was dazzling, as if there was a mysterious river of time flowing. His face had also turned into a dignified middle-aged man. He was wearing a long robe of time and exuded an unparalleled emperor's aura. As Ling Xiao had expected, old man Tian was the legendary Flowing Time Emperor. After Ling Xiao exposed his identity, he didn't hide anything and revealed his true body. He exuded a terrifying aura that caused the surrounding sky to tremble. 3,000 Tao origins intertwined behind him and vaguely formed an incomparably mysterious world. It was an aura that made even Ling Xiao feel a strong threat. This incomparably mysterious flowing time emperor had once appeared before Ling Xiao as Old Man Tian. Now, he had finally revealed his unparalleled strength. You want the Myriad Tao Golden Core? Unfortunately, there's only one Myriad Tao Golden Core. You want it, but so do others. Especially the 4 sovereigns. Do you think you're a match for them? Ling Xiao looked at the flowing time emperor with a faint smile. He seemed to be extremely patient. Although the flames were burning his body and the fire of life was burning fiercely, and he was constantly refining the Myriad Tao Golden Core, he didn't show any fear in the face of the flowing time emperor. The 4 sovereigns? They're just a few scoundrels who deceive the world. What kind of sovereigns are they? If you give me the Myriad Tao Golden Core, I can protect you from death even if they come here. The flowing time emperor said coldly. When Ling Xiao mentioned the 4 sovereigns, a trace of bone-deep hatred seemed to flash in his eyes. It was obvious that he had a lot of enmity with the 4 sovereigns. Is that so? At this moment, an indifferent and domineering voice sounded. Rumble. Endless chaotic light rose, and in the eastern sky, it was as if a sea of chaos had exploded. A figure wearing a chaotic robe with a blurry face stepped out of the chaos, exuding a domineering, dignified, terrifying, and cold aura. Chaotic Emperor. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with light. The newcomer was the Chaotic Emperor. Ling Xiao had once killed his incarnation, so he was very familiar with the Chaotic Emperor's aura. Therefore, he recognized the Chaotic Emperor's identity at a glance. Rumble. At the same time, mysterious light bloomed in the eastern and southern sky. Immortal light lingered in the southern sky, and the aura was mysterious and ethereal, containing the fluctuations of fate. An ethereal figure stepped out, and it was impossible to tell whether it was a man or a woman. In the western sky, endless Buddhist light bloomed, mysterious and immortal. A Buddha sat cross-legged on a golden lotus platform. The lotus platform had 36 petals, and chaotic light lingered around it. His palms were together, and behind him, there seemed to be a mysterious scene of the birth and death of millions of worlds. Chaos, fate, and karma. It's the 3 of you. Where's Samsara? The flowing time emperor's eyes were full of killing intent, and there seemed to be an endless evil aura around him. Blood light surged, and a mysterious scene of fiend gods spilling blood appeared. The figure shrouded in immortal light in the south was the Fate Emperor. And the Buddha sitting on the golden lotus platform was the Karma Emperor. Beside the Karma Emperor, there was a handsome monk in a white robe standing barefoot. His palms were together, and lotus flowers bloomed with every step he took. Buddhist light surrounded him, and his gaze was incomparably calm. It was Tathagata. Flowing time, in the Battle of Emperor's Fall, you were beaten to a pulp by the 4 of us. I didn't expect you to survive, and even steal a portion of the heavenly Tao's power. However, aren't you afraid of dying a terrible death for plotting against the Myriad Tao Golden Core? The Chaotic Emperor stared at the flowing time emperor and said coldly. You 4 despicable and shameless scum. If you hadn't ambushed me back then, you would have died at my hands. Do you really think you can call yourself a ruler just because you've lived for so long? If you want the Myriad Tao Golden Core, you'll have to ask me first. The flowing time emperor's eyes were filled with an incomparably strong killing intent. He seemed to have endless hatred and murderous intent toward the 4 rulers. If it weren't for them, how could he have fallen to his current state? In the Battle of Emperor's Fall, the vast Wilds continent had been shattered and turned into a multitude of worlds. The heavenly Tao had been gravely injured and had fallen into a deep slumber. Only these 4 despicable scum had obtained the greatest fortune. The flowing time emperor was the most talented and powerful emperor in the Battle of Emperor's Fall. How could he possibly be interested in these 4 clowns? Flowing time, this is no longer your era. Leave. Seeing that there are fewer and fewer old friends left, I can spare you. The Fate Emperor said indifferently. His voice was ethereal and ethereal. It was impossible to tell if he was male or female, but there was an unquestionable determination in it. Ba. Flowing time, the myriad Tao golden core isn't something you can covet. Give it up, or you'll be reborn in paradise today. The Karma Emperor said incomparably calmly. With just the three of you. If Samsara was here, I might be a little wary. But without Samsara, what can you do with just the three of you? The Flowing Time Emperor sneered without the slightest fear. Even in the face of the three rulers, he was filled with battle intent and anger. He wanted to fight with them to wash away his previous humiliation. I say, you guys are looking down on me too much, aren't you? I'm not dead yet. Do you really want to take the myriad Tao golden core away just like that? Ling Xiao said helplessly. The four big shots didn't seem to care about him at all. They acted as if the myriad Tao golden core was already in their bag. You? Ling Xiao, as a chess piece, you should have the awareness of a chess piece. If you hand over the myriad Tao golden core now and submit to me, I might spare your life. The Primal Chaos Emperor said coldly as he looked at Ling Xiao. Chess piece? What if I don't want to be a chess piece, but a chess player? Ling Xiao said with a smile. If you don't want to be a chess piece, then only death awaits you. The Flowing Time Emperor said in a deep voice. Everyone, I'm afraid the people behind the scenes aren't all here yet, right? The chess players aren't all here yet. Aren't you afraid that you'll be making a wedding dress for others by snatching the myriad Tao golden core? Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Although his Tao transcendence had attracted the Flowing Time Emperor and the three rulers, Ling Xiao felt that it was far from enough. At least, the Reincarnation Emperor hadn't appeared yet, and neither had the weapon spirits of the 10 Chaos Treasures. Especially the weapon spirits of the textless Heavenly Book, where were they hiding now? However, Ling Xiao believed that even if they didn't appear, they must be nearby watching. Today, he had taken the initiative to transcend, which was also a step for him to take the initiative. From now on, he could be considered to have jumped out of the chess game. However, if he wanted to break out of the game, he had to get through the life and death crisis in front of him first. The three rulers and the Flowing Time Emperor weren't easy to deal with, let alone the people hiding in the dark. Making a wedding dress for others? Who dares? The Primal Chaos Emperor said with a cold smile. There was a trace of an invincible aura in his eyes. The chaotic light around him rose as if it could sweep away everything. His aura was terrifying to the extreme. Chapter 3353. Everyone, there's only one myriad Tao golden core. How are you going to split it among so many of you? Why don't you decide the winner and loser before deciding who the myriad Tao golden core belongs to? Ling Xiao glanced at the Emperor of Chaos and the others and smiled. Rumble. His body was surrounded by lightning and flames. Although his physical body was burning, the flame of life was like a sea of fire. He looked like he was about to reach the end of his life. However, in his body, the myriad Tao golden core that was as dazzling as the sun was rapidly fusing with the myriad Tao origin and refining it. Ling Xiao's aura was getting stronger and stronger. The aura of transcendence spread out and made everyone around him tremble. Even some of the great emperors looked at Ling Xiao with a solemn expression. Ling Xiao had embarked on a path that was completely different from theirs. Myriad Tao is one, great Tao is one. His entire being was refining as if he was about to reach a legendary realm. It was terrifying to the extreme. Ling Xiao, don't you think it's too late to sow discord at this time? Since you're not willing to submit, then die. The Emperor of Chaos's eyes were filled with killing intent. Terrifying chaotic light surged out from his body as if he was going to bury Ling Xiao in the endless chaos. Ling Xiao, don't make a futile struggle. I'll give you a chance. Hand over the myriad Tao golden core and I'll guarantee your survival. Even the three of them won't be able to hurt you. The Flowing Time Emperor said calmly as he looked at Ling Xiao. Including the Flowing Time Emperor and the Karma Emperor, the four supreme experts exuded a terrifying aura. The four supreme experts locked on to Ling Xiao at the same time. Their bodies were filled with Emperor's aura and divine light surged. The Great Tao origin was like an eternal light pillar that was extremely powerful. They were waiting for Ling Xiao's reply. If Ling Xiao dared to refuse, they would immediately attack and kill him. Ha ha ha. Are you guys that confident that you can defeat me? Ling Xiao laughed. His eyes were calm and deep. The flames around him surged and his aura became more unfathomable. Facing the four supreme experts, he did not hesitate. Instead, there was a strong fighting spirit in his eyes that seemed to be able to shatter the world. If you don't surrender, then die. Primal Chaos Emperor said coldly. Ha ha ha. Looks like only the four of you have taken the lead. If you want the Myriad Tao Golden Core, then let's see what kind of ability you have. Since that's the case, then all of you can come at me together. What do I, Ling Xiao, fear? Ling Xiao laughed heartily. His voice was like a clap of thunder, exploding in all directions in the sky. Rumble. His white robes were whiter than snow, and his white hair fluttered in the wind. A vast and mysterious aura surged around him, and an endless amount of chaotic light shone from his eyes, as if he was about to open up a mysterious world. Crack. He instantly made his move. An unparalleled fist print condensed into 108 beams of immortal light that contained all sorts of profound meanings of the Great Tao. In an instant, they pierced through the void and destroyed time itself as they pressed down towards the Flowing Time Emperor. At the same time, Ling Xiao's entire body was shrouded in a chaotic light. In that instant, it was as though he had split into tens of thousands of figures in the void. All of them howled as they bolted towards the four utmost powerful beings. Each of the figures possessed unparalleled strength. Ling Xiao seemed to have broken free from the restraints of the world. Even though he had ignited his flames of life and was about to fall into the end, he still erupted with terrifying battle intent. You're courting death. Murderous intent flashed across the Flowing Time Emperor's eyes. He was the supreme ruler of the long river of time. He had attained his Tao in the ancient times, and his understanding of the great Tao of time was unparalleled. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to survive Emperor's fall. Now that Ling Xiao had directly attacked him, his heart was instantly filled with boundless murderous intent. Ling Xiao, I once intercepted a time-extinguishing finger for you to protect yourself. Today, I'll show you what the true time-extinguishing finger is. The Flowing Time Emperor's voice was cold and emotionless. At the same time, a sharp and dazzling finger light bloomed in the void, and then fell towards Ling Xiao. As the finger light fell, there seemed to be endless light shrouding in it. The long river of time was faintly discernible within, as if an incomparably mysterious world had emerged. The finger light was dazzling and immortal, but the terrifying power contained within was like the destruction of heaven and earth, piercing through everything. That was the power of time. Time had buried everything. In the long river of time, there seemed to be scenes of the birth and death of an endless world. Countless gods and demons were bathed in blood, all living beings fell, and heaven and earth shattered. At the same time, there was also the appearance of endless vitality, one cycle after another, one epoch after another. No one could transcend time and transcend the years. Unless one truly transcended the 3,000 great Taos and was untainted by the dust of time, they would definitely be buried by time. This finger had reached an extreme sublimation, allowing Ling Xiao to see the true power of the time-extinguishing finger. Boom! The supreme fist print collided with the time-extinguishing finger with a loud bang. Ling Xiao's supreme fist print contained the ultimate power of his immortal body. It had reached an extreme sublimation and could destroy everything, but in front of the time-extinguishing finger, it was like a bubble, bursting with a loud bang. Puff! Bloody light filled the air as Ling Xiao's palm was pierced by the finger light. The sound of metal clashing rang out, and dazzling light bloomed. Ling Xiao had been repelled by the Flowing Time Emperor's finger. Good. As expected of the true time-extinguishing finger. Flowing Time Emperor, You have actually integrated the power of the heavenly Tao into the time-extinguishing finger? Unfortunately, although you want to embark on a special path of transcendence, it is impossible for you to integrate the origin of the time-extinguishing finger with the time-extinguishing finger. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, his gaze incomparably calm. A faint golden bloody light fell from his palm, and an intense pain spread out. However, Ling Xiao's expression was incomparably calm, and was filled with admiration. This was the true time-extinguishing finger, or rather, it was a new Supreme Emperor technique that the Flowing Time Emperor had integrated with the power of the heavenly Tao. The original time-extinguishing finger was only the power of time, and contained the origin of the time-extinguishing finger, which could bury everything. However, the Flowing Time Emperor had integrated the power of the heavenly Tao into it in a futile attempt to use the time-extinguishing Great Tao to integrate the 3000 Great Tao origin. In Ling Xiao's opinion, it was a failure. Although the power of the time-extinguishing finger had increased by 10 times, or even 100 times, the origin of the Great Tao that had been integrated into the time-extinguishing finger were only a few dozen. When I kill you and seize the myriad Tao golden core, I will naturally be able to integrate with the heavenly Tao and truly transcend. The Flowing Time Emperor's face darkened slightly, and his gaze was incomparably cold as he spoke in a chilling tone. Although Ling Xiao had exposed him, he did not waver in the slightest. The light of time around him surged violently, and it swept across the sky to suppress Ling Xiao. Boom! When the peerless palm print fell, it was as if the four extremes of the world had been contained within it, and no one could escape. Naturally, Ling Xiao was no exception. However, Ling Xiao did not think of escaping, and the battle intent in his eyes grew stronger. Boom! 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 He threw out 3 consecutive punches, and 3 peerless fist prints bloomed above the 9 heavens like dazzling suns. 3 suns across the sky. Epoch Fist. Creation Fist. Sovereign Fist. This was the Supreme Fist Tao that Ling Xiao had comprehended when he had comprehended the unification of the heavenly Tao, and had embarked on his own Supreme Great Tao. At this moment, when he displayed all of them at the same time, an incomparably terrifying power erupted. The Epoch Fist was the Fist of Destruction. The Creation Fist was the Fist of Creation. The Sovereign Fist was the Fist of the Heavenly Tao. The 3 supreme fist prints appeared in the void, and in an instant, they fused together, turning into a mysterious fist print that was filled with the light of nothingness. It was unfathomable, and it pressed down on the Flowing Time Emperor. Flowing Time Emperor, take my transcendent fist as well. Accompanied by Ling Xiao's indifferent and calm voice, the mysterious fist print directly broke through the peerless palm print, and then pressed down on the Flowing Time Emperor. What? The Flowing Time Emperor's face changed slightly, and there was a trace of shock in his eyes. Although he did not take the 3 fist prints seriously, the transcendent fist formed by the fusion of the 3 fist prints seemed to have undergone some kind of qualitative change, and it emitted an aura fluctuation that made his heart palpitate. Break! The Flowing Time Emperor roared. The river of time appeared around him, and in an instant, like a divine rainbow, it gathered in his palm, and then crossed the sky to meet Ling Xiao. Rumble! Endless divine light bloomed, and the surrounding chaotic void was swept clean. If not for the fact that they were already in the sky above the Eldritch continent, and were far away from the Eldritch continent, and surrounded by the vast starry sky, this blow would have blown millions of miles of land into nothingness. Even the supreme experts who were watching the battle from afar were all trembling, and their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Such a distant fluctuation made them feel a deep sense of helplessness. One could imagine how terrifying the fluctuations in the center of the battle were. Crack! The mysterious river of time was filled with the luster of immortality, but after colliding with the transcendent fist, it was as if it had been slashed by millions of sword chi, and cracks appeared on it. In the end, it collapsed with a loud bang. The peerless fist print destroyed everything, and then ruthlessly blasted on the Flowing Time Emperor's chest. Boom! The Flowing Time Emperor's body shook violently, and his chest caved in. Blood filled the air, and a huge bloody hole appeared. He coughed out blood, and his eyes were filled with incomparable shock. With one blow, the flowing time emperor was sent flying. This is the power of a transcendent. Impossible. You haven't even condensed the myriad Tao golden core, how can you control the power of a transcendent? The flowing time emperor looked at Ling Xiao with eyes filled with disbelief. Rumble. At the same time, the doppelgangers of Ling Xiao were destroyed. Even though these doppelgangers were not weaker than Ling Xiao's original body, under the attacks of the Primal Chaos Emperor, Destiny Emperor, and Karma Emperor, they were quickly wiped out. Flowing time, you can't even take a single punch from Ling Xiao, and you still want to snatch the myriad Tao golden core? You're really courting death. Even if you drag out an ignoble existence, in the end, you're just a piece of trash. The Primal Chaos Emperor looked at the Flowing Time Emperor, who was sent flying, and said coldly. Primal Chaos, even you can't take that punch from Ling Xiao. That's the power of a transcendent. I didn't expect him to grow to this extent. The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes were filled with seriousness as he spoke slowly. The power of a transcendent? He hasn't even condensed the myriad Tao golden core, so how can he have the power of a transcendent? I think it's just a legacy that he obtained from the Transcendent Scroll. The Primal Chaos Emperor sneered as his deep and cold eyes fell on Ling Xiao. Die! The Primal Chaos Emperor shouted as the chaotic light around him condensed and turned into an unparalleled fist print, which came crashing down on Ling Xiao. Chaos represented everything. It was the origin of the 3,000 Great Daos, the birthplace of all living beings, and the intersection of reality and nothingness. However, it was extremely difficult to prove one's Tao and become an emperor through chaos. Chaos was the leader of all Daos and ruled all Daos. Logically speaking, if one could prove one's Tao and become an emperor through chaos, he would have the highest chance of merging with the myriad Tao origin. Therefore, even though Ling Xiao knew that he had once killed the doppelgangers of the Primal Chaos Emperor, there was no doubt that the Primal Chaos Emperor was powerful. When the chaotic fist print came out, endless chaotic light shrouded the surroundings as if the world had returned to the state of chaos. This punch contained a power that could crush everything. Even Ling Xiao felt an incomparably strong pressure. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were dazzling as he threw out a punch towards the Primal Chaos Emperor. Just as the Primal Chaos Emperor had expected, he was able to merge the three fist prints of Epoch, Creation, and Dominator to form the Transcendence Fist. It was not his own strength but the legacy that he obtained from the Transcendent Scroll. That punch had caused him to suffer quite a bit of backlash. His body was on the verge of shattering, and his aura had weakened quite a bit. Although Ling Xiao knew that this would be an extremely difficult battle, he did not expect it to be so difficult. The strength of the four supreme experts was still beyond his imagination. Crack! The chaotic light exploded as if the world was shrouded in chaos. Countless supreme stars were destroyed at the same time and the four extremities of the world fell into the state of ultimate void. Ling Xiao's body flew backward as his body trembled violently. The spiderweb cracks on his body increased as if he was about to shatter at any time. Ha ha ha! As expected of the Primal Chaos Emperor. As expected of the leader of the 3,000 Great Daos. If you want the myriad Tao golden elixir, this is not enough. Ling Xiao laughed heartily, looking extremely carefree. Although his face was pale, his eyes shone brighter and brighter. He forcibly stopped himself from retreating. Then, like a bolt of lightning, he pounced on the Emperor of Chaos once again. Amitabha! In the void, a faint Buddhist chant rang out. It was as melodious as the sound of a bell and instantly reverberated throughout the world. The Karma Emperor, who was sitting cross-legged on the 36th grade golden lotus, radiated endless Buddhist light as he pressed down on Ling Xiao with his palm. This palm seemed to contain the power of nothingness, existing between reality and illusion. Moreover, a mysterious flame rose up. At the same time, lines of karma interwove like divine chains of order, turning into a cage and trapping Ling Xiao within. Boom! 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 Huge karma light pillars, which looked like they were made of golden metal, were filled with immortal light. In an instant, they pierced through the heavens and earth and trapped Ling Xiao in it. In the golden cage, the karma fire intertwined and shrouded Ling Xiao. At the same time, a huge palm print descended from the sky. The palm print seemed to have turned into an immortal Buddha, mysterious and immortal. It contained the anger of the Wisdom King, punishing the world and suppressing everything. Ling Xiao raised his head. His eyes were as sharp as swords, as if they could pierce through the heavens. Bathed in the karma fire, he threw out a punch as well. Kacha! The fist and palm collided, causing the void to tremble. The huge Buddha descended from the sky and suppressed Ling Xiao in the cage, as if it was going to turn him into dust. Slash! The Destiny Emperor was shrouded in mysterious and dazzling immortal light. He pulled his hands together and a crystal-clear sword light bloomed. Then, he slashed at Ling Xiao. The sword chi was unparalleled and filled with immortal light. However, it was extremely sharp. The void was instantly cut open and endless chaotic light gushed out. The sword came from the void and contained the mysterious power of destiny. It was aimed at Ling Xiao's birth chart, intending to shatter it. Open for me. Blazing light surged around Ling Xiao's body as he let out an earth-shattering roar. Rumble. Endless flames rose up. The myriad Tao golden core in his body actually blossomed with boundless flames at this moment, like a sea of fire. The cage that looked like it was made of divine gold was swept up by the flames and turned into nothingness. Even the immortal and mysterious Buddha was completely refined in the flames. Ling Xiao was bathed in flames. His eyes were extremely sharp as he faced the sword of destiny. Mysterious light gushed out from his palm. Ling Xiao used the art of reversing fate. Endless light shrouded the sword of destiny in an instant. Buzz! The sword of destiny buzzed and vibrated. In the end, it trembled violently. Like a dazzling light, it flew back and attacked the Destiny Emperor. Art of reversing fate. The Destiny Emperor let out a cry of surprise and desire. He formed a seal with his hands. Rays of light gathered in front of him and formed a mysterious defensive boundary. It was like a seal of the world. Facing this sword, the Destiny Emperor attached great importance to it and attacked without any hesitation. Boom! The boundaries were destroyed. After the Sword of Destiny was strengthened by the art of reversing fate, it became even more terrifying and fierce. It only dissipated when its power was exhausted. Otherwise, this sword might have really cut into the Destiny Emperor's body. Ling Xiao, I don't want the myriad Tao golden core. Give me the art of reversing fate and I'll leave immediately. How about it? The Destiny Emperor's voice rang in Ling Xiao's mind. Don't even think about it. Ling Xiao sneered and rejected him flatly. The flames around him were the myriad Tao origin fire and the flames of his life. Although Ling Xiao felt that his life was getting weaker and weaker, his strength was getting stronger and stronger. Ling Xiao did not show the slightest fear in the face of the four powerful great emperors. Terrifying light surged around him as he launched powerful counterattacks. Ling Xiao, I'll take a step back. Give me the art of reversing fate and I'll bring you out of here and help you transcend. How about it? Although you're strong, your cultivation realm is too weak. You won't be able to last long if you rely on burning your life force. The Destiny Emperor did not give up and continued to transmit his voice. If you want the art of reversing fate, come and get it yourself. Ling Xiao replied coldly. Boom! He soared into the sky and faced the Karma Emperor, who was sitting on the 36th grade Golden Lotus, with a punch. The Karma Emperor lowered his head and a Buddhist light surged around him. He sent out a palm strike that suppressed everything and sent Ling Xiao flying. Kacha! The Primal Chaos Emperor's face was cold as he stepped into the void. His Primal Chaos fist suppressed everything. It was as if the myriad Tao of heaven and earth was on his body. Ling Xiao's arm trembled as cracks appeared on his body. Bloody light spread out and dyed his snow-white clothes red. The flowing Time Emperor was surrounded by the river of time. His attacks were extremely fast and contained the power of time. The flowing time realm was formed around Ling Xiao. Although it couldn't really lock Ling Xiao in place, it was like a muddy swamp that restricted Ling Xiao's speed. At the same time, streaks of sharp sword light and finger radiance seemed to be able to separate the flow of time as they shot towards Ling Xiao's vitals. When the Destiny Emperor saw that Ling Xiao had rejected him, he naturally didn't show any mercy. Streaks of sword light swept across the void and slashed down on Ling Xiao continuously. With 4 utmost powerful beings attacking at the same time, no matter how heaven-defying Ling Xiao's combat strength was, he still fell into a disadvantageous position. His entire body was stained with blood as his physical body crumbled. Fresh blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth as his face was extremely pale. However, the battle intent in his eyes was getting stronger and stronger. Even though he was surrounded by 4 utmost powerful beings, he continued to retaliate. The battle was getting more and more intense as a tragic atmosphere filled the air. Is Ling Xiao really going to die? Someone asked in a low voice as his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The 3 sovereigns are all emperors from the First Era. They are considered the strongest people in the Eldritch continent. The Flowing Time Emperor's strength is also extremely heaven-defying. With the 4 of them attacking at the same time, I'm afraid no one in the entire Eldritch continent can defeat them, right? Someone shook his head and said. Ling Xiao is extremely talented. His talent is heaven-defying and he has great opportunities. More importantly, he has great willpower and wisdom. He came from the mortal world and rose to power in defiance of the natural order. He has shocked the myriad worlds. He is the chosen one, the Lord of Demons, the Emperor Lord, and the most demon-like genius of the human race. Even the son of the Heavenly Emperor, Zhao Ritian, pales in comparison to him. Only the former Heavenly Emperor can be compared to Ling Xiao. However, it is such a person who has embarked on the path of transcendence and attracted the attention of the utmost powerful beings. Today, he is going to fall here. How unfair is the Heavenly Tao? Someone sighed softly. Thinking back to all the things that happened to Ling Xiao, they were even more shocked and emotional. People would always sympathize with the weak. This was especially so for ancient monsters like the Chaos Emperor, the Destiny Emperor, the Karma Emperor, and the Flowing Time Emperor. They had actually besieged a young man, lowering their status and degenerating themselves. It was truly despicable. Although they did not dare to talk about the 4 utmost powerful beings, they could not help but sympathize with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was just an imperial emperor, but he had defied the natural order and fought against 4 heavenly emperors alone. How could they not admire such a spirit? I'm not as good as him. Looking at Ling Xiao in the void, Tathagata muttered softly to himself. The Buddhist light around him was crystal clear like glass. His Buddhist heart was untainted by dust, but at this moment, there were slight ripples. Ling Xiao's heaven-defying strength was beyond his imagination. What shocked him even more was Ling Xiao's choice. Ling Xiao could have chosen not to take this path. He could have even chosen not to take the final step and condense the myriad Tao Golden Core. Although Ling Xiao had sensed the people behind the scenes, he was still fearless. He took the final step and ascended to the extreme. Even in the face of the legendary utmost powerful beings, he was still fearless and continued to fight to the death. Tathagata knew that he could not do it. Damn it! I can't take it anymore. These despicable and shameless people. They have lived for so long, but they still don't understand. How can they be so shameless? In a small world, the old goat and the white dragon horse were about to explode when they saw the various scenes of the battle projected in the void. Their eyes were red, and they were filled with unwillingness to accept the outcome. In this small world, many of Ling Xiao's old friends were there, including the war god Lu Bai of the War God Temple, Taoist Wu Yang, Pangu Tiangang, and others. This was the world of faith created by the great Emperor of Faith, Yuan Shitian. It was hidden in the faith of all living beings. Even the 4 utmost powerful beings could not find it. Ling Xiao entrusted these old friends to Yuan Shitian and asked him to protect them. When Ling Xiao decided to take that final step, he had already planned out all his escape routes. He wanted to face all of this with his own strength. Enough. Other than sending you to your deaths and distracting Master, what else can you do? Yuan Qitian's face darkened as he spoke in an unprecedentedly serious tone. Although his fate was connected to Ling Xiao's and he was extremely worried, he could only force himself to remain calm and believe that Ling Xiao could face all of this. Otherwise, if Ling Xiao were to fall, they would probably be the target of the wrath of those powerhouses as well. They would not have a good ending. Chaos Emperor, Destiny Emperor, Karma Emperor, Reincarnation Emperor, and Flowing Time Emperor, I will remember all of you. One day, I will kill all of you. The old goat said word by word. His eyes were filled with tears of blood and hatred. The Reincarnation Emperor did not make a move, the white dragon horse said weakly. However, it was choked by the old goat's glare and did not dare to say anything. I will go into seclusion. I will not come out until I become an emperor. Even if they are extremely powerful, as long as we are alive, there is hope. There is hope to avenge Ling Xiao. Taoist Wu Yang said coldly. Everyone's faces were filled with grief and sorrow. Most of them were guessing that Ling Xiao was really going to die in this battle. Their hearts were filled with hatred as they stared at the four utmost powerful beings. It was as though they wanted to carve them into their bones. One day, they would kill them to avenge Ling Xiao. In the endless chaotic void, the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain and human Emperor Jiang Yuyang stood side by side. An ancient mirror in front of them reflected the scene of the battle between Ling Xiao and the four utmost powerful beings. Jiang Yuyang's face was filled with unwillingness. Emperor, are we really not going to make a move? I'm afraid Ling Xiao is no match for them. Jiang Yuyang sighed softly. Do you think we can change anything if we make a move? The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said indifferently. We can't change anything. After all, they are too powerful. However, are we really going to watch Ling Xiao die? Jiang Yuyang smiled bitterly. His gaze fell on the Emperor of Chaos and the others. No one knew better than him how powerful and terrifying the Emperor of Chaos was. An era ago, the Heavenly Emperor was extremely powerful. He was so powerful that no one in the demon clan dared to show up. Many demon emperors were completely killed. However, it was because of the Emperor of Chaos that the Heavenly Emperor fell. Now, was the human clan going to follow in the footsteps of the past? The four of them are indeed very powerful. However, they were not the strongest. Among the four sovereigns, although the primal Chaos Emperor had attained the Great Tao of Chaos, which was the most powerful of the 3,000 Great Taos, he was the most useless one. He was far inferior to the Reincarnation Emperor. Moreover, there is the weapon spirit of the wordless Heavenly Book. It can be said that the 10 Chaos treasures are all under his command. Do you think the Reincarnation Emperor and the weapon spirit of the wordless Heavenly Book will ignore the myriad Tao Golden Core? Perhaps they are hiding somewhere at this moment. This is a tribulation that Ling Xiao must overcome. If he fails, he will definitely die. Only by overcoming this tribulation can he transform into a dragon and truly transform. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly as he looked at the situation in the ancient mirror. If what you said is true, the Reincarnation Emperor and the weapon spirit of the wordless Heavenly Book will be even more powerful. How difficult will it be to overcome this tribulation? Jiang Yuyang sighed softly. It is indeed very difficult. It can even be said that he will definitely die. However, Ling Xiao has his own path to walk. No one can help him. He can only rely on himself. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. I hope there will be a miracle. Jiang Yuyang said with a bitter smile. Although he knew that it would be extremely difficult for a miracle to happen, Ling Xiao was still watching. Even the four strongest people could not withstand Ling Xiao's attacks. How could he withstand the Reincarnation Emperor and the weapon spirit of the wordless Heavenly Book? In the middle of the battlefield in the outer realm. Boom! The Emperor of Chaos' unparalleled fist print pressed down, causing Ling Xiao to tremble. It was as if his physical body was about to be completely destroyed. Ling Xiao, don't be stubborn. Hand over the myriad Tao golden core and you might be able to keep your life. Otherwise, you will definitely die. The Emperor of Chaos said coldly. Now that things have come to this, do you really think that I don't know? Ling Zhao's mouth was bleeding. He sneered and said, if I don't succeed, I will die trying. Today, I have come to this step. If I can't truly transcend, I will die completely. If I hand over the myriad Tao golden core, I will definitely die. However, I can choose to self-destruct the myriad Tao golden core. In the end, you might not get anything. Although Ling Zhao's voice was calm, his eyes flashed with endless madness. You dare. Ling Zhao, if you dare to self-destruct the myriad Tao golden core, I promise to crush your bones and scatter your ashes. You will never be reincarnated. Moreover, all your family and friends will beg for death because of you. The Emperor of Chaos' face darkened and said coldly. They were most afraid of Ling Zhao self-destructing the myriad Tao golden core. If Ling Zhao self-destructed the myriad Tao golden core, he might definitely die. However, they would never be able to obtain the myriad Tao golden core again. Although they were extremely powerful, they did not have absolute confidence that they would be able to stop Ling Zhao when he self-destructed the myriad Tao golden core. Idiot, how can I self-destruct the myriad Tao golden core if I haven't transcended? However, your words have completely infuriated me. Emperor of Chaos, I promise you that you will die miserably. You will taste the great fear of death. Ling Zhao sneered. His gaze was extremely cold, like a blade that could cut through everything. The Emperor of Chaos's words made him want to kill Ling Zhao. Kill me? Arrogant, I will kill you today. The Emperor of Chaos said coldly. The great Tao of Chaos swept across the void like a chaotic realm and shrouded Ling Zhao. Boom! Ling Zhao was sent flying again. His body was badly mutilated. His immortal and strong physical body could not withstand such a terrifying and fierce attack. His flesh and blood seemed to be completely refined, revealing his purple-gold bones. His primordial spirit rose like the sun and the myriad Tao golden core in his body was constantly transforming. Ever since Ling Zhao took the last step to condense the myriad Tao golden core, it was an irreversible thing. Therefore, the Emperor of Chaos and the rest did not hesitate to attack Ling Zhao. Even if they killed Ling Zhao now, it would not affect the formation of the myriad Tao golden core. They did not want the myriad Tao golden core to be completed. If Ling Zhao succeeded in transcending, it would be hard to say if they could kill Ling Zhao. Right now, they wanted to kill Ling Zhao before he transcended. Boom! 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 The fist radiance was surging, containing the origin of chaos. The sword chi was unparalleled, containing the power of destiny. The Buddha light filled the air, and the huge palm print seemed to be able to bury everything. It was as if the Buddha was suppressing the heavens and earth. The river of time ran through the heavens and earth, burying all life within it. The four supreme experts attacked at the same time. The power was terrifying to the extreme, as if it could destroy everything. No one could withstand it. Ling Zhao's body shook violently. His physical body, primordial spirit, origin, and Tao heart had all suffered unimaginable damage. He was like a candle flame in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. He was close to the end of his life. However, the myriad Tao golden core in his body became increasingly dazzling. It illuminated Ling Zhao's pale face, his unyielding and sharp eyes, and the murderous aura of the four supreme experts. Rumble. However, at this moment, a blazing demonic light rose from the sky. A terrifying figure came across the sky, as if an immemorial demon god had awakened, exuding a terrifying demonic aura. Blood radiance surged, and the heavens and earth shook. An unparalleled fist print that suppressed the heavens and earth descended from the 9 heavens, enveloping the Chaos Emperor and the Destiny Emperor. You're courting death. The Chaos Emperor's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He seemed to have recognized the origin of the figure, and his Chaos fist print went up to meet it. The Destiny Emperor also shot out a sword radiance. It was like a wave of water, piercing through the void and slashing toward the figure. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. The figure was wearing a blood-red armor. It was mysterious and immortal, and it blocked the Destiny Emperor's sword radiance. When the Chaos Emperor's fist collided with the figures, the void shook violently, and the two of them retreated at the same time. Ha ha ha! As supreme experts, 4 of you ganged up on one person. How dare you call yourself a ruler? What a joke! The figure stood beside Ling Xiao. Blood radiance surrounded him, and his demonic aura was vast. His black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were incomparably cold. He exuded a domineering, cruel, and majestic aura. It was Dark Ling Xiao. That's right. They don't care about their dignity. They have lived for so long since the Antiquity Age. They don't know what dignity is. However, this is a world where the strong are respected. Even if they are shameless, no one dares to say anything. An ethereal and indifferent voice rang out. Light bloomed all over the sky, as if golden lotuses were emerging from the void. As the flower of the great Tao bloomed, a figure shrouded in dazzling light stepped forward. In the void, he suddenly collided with the Flowing Time Emperor and the Karma Emperor. Then, he floated down beside Ling Xiao. It was a handsome young man whose body was shining with golden light. He exuded a vast and unparalleled emperor's aura. He was also a great emperor. However, his body was filled with an endless power of destiny, as if it could destroy everything. It was mysterious and unfathomable. It was Faith Ling Xiao. You shouldn't have come. Ling Xiao sighed softly, and an inexplicable look appeared in his eyes. Dark Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao had both become great emperors. One was the Demon Emperor of Light and Darkness, while the other was the Fortune Emperor. When they became great emperors, they had already developed complete self-awareness. In other words, they were no longer Ling Xiao's clones. They were considered independent individuals. Even if Ling Xiao died, they would not be affected at all. However, now that Ling Xiao was facing a great calamity, they still came. Cut the crap. You're such a good-for-nothing. If we didn't come, wouldn't you have been beaten to death by these despicable bastards? Dark Ling Xiao sneered. Although I calculated that there would be no chance of survival in this battle, I had no choice but to come. Faith Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Ling Xiao, these are your 2 clones, right? One is the Demon Lord, and the other is the Lord of the Heavenly Court. You really know how to hide things from everyone. Originally, this emperor wanted to kill your 2 clones after killing you. I didn't expect that they would deliver themselves to my doorstep. Very well, since that's the case, I'll send the 3 of you to the west today. You can accompany each other on the road to the netherworld. Chaos Emperor sneered, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The other 3 were not surprised at all. Obviously, in their eyes, Ling Xiao's 2 clones were not a secret. They already knew about it. However, everyone was stunned. Dark Ling Xiao was the Demon Lord of the Demon Clan. He had slaughtered the Blood Prison Demon Lord, defeated the primitive Demon Emperor, and became a great emperor. He had also killed many supreme experts. Faith Ling Xiao was even more powerful. In the battle of the Ling Xiao Heavenly Court, his strength was obvious to all. He had defeated the Immortal Demon Alliance. They would never have thought that the legendary Demon Lord and the Emperor of Faith were actually Ling Xiao's clones. This news would probably make the entire Eldritch continent go into an uproar. Both clones had become great emperors. What kind of legend was that? The apex.